Chapter 780. G-Realm. What kind of person is sealed inside that five-color vortex? How could he have the G-Realm? As they flew through the void, Wang Lin found it difficult to calm down. Although he looked calm on the surface, his heart was actually in a state of shock like a stormy sea. The end of the G-Realm is the nascent soul stage, but in my life, I first met Na Duo from Planet 5 Elements. That person had the G-Realm and said that it was a gift from a friend. Aside from him, this is the second time I've met someone with the G-Realm. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with contemplation as he flew through the void toward the center of the many fragments of the Thunder Celestial Realm. Could it be that there really is a way to increase the G-Realm? Wang Lin's heart skipped a beat and his mouth felt dry. During the hundreds of years he spent with the G-Realm, he had a bone-deep understanding of this unimaginable spell. Ji-Dao beginning, Wang Lin's eyes were filled with contemplation. He knew too few things, so he couldn't analyze them in his mind. A moment later, he let out a sigh and no longer thought about this matter. Instead, he focused his attention on the collection pavilion. Flying through the void should have been very boring. After all, the void was too big, and most cultivators spent a lot of time on the fragments. Flying through the void was just a passerby. However, after Wang Lin and Li Yuan had traveled for more than half a month, they began to see rays of sword energy flying by. Some were close, some were far, and some were close. At the beginning, Wang Lin didn't pay too much attention, but as they continued to move forward, more and more cultivators appeared in the void after another month. Most of these cultivators were at the ascendant stage, and occasionally there were illusory cultivators. They were either alone, in groups of 3 to 5, or in groups of a family. This attracted the attention of Wang Lin and Li Yuan. The cultivators all had different expressions, but the excitement in their eyes was shockingly the same. These cultivators also saw Wang Lin and Li Yuan as they passed by. Naturally, some of them recognized that Wang Lin's cultivation level was above that of Ascendant. Their eyes were filled with vigilance, but they all moved around them. They didn't want to cause any trouble. Brother Su, something's not right. Could it be that something big has happened? Li Yuan pondered. He had seen too many cultivators along the way. This was extremely unusual in the void. Moreover, as the two of them moved toward the center of the fragments, they saw more and more cultivators. It was as if all the cultivators that had entered the Thunder Celestial Realm had flown out from their respective fragments and were heading toward the same place. Not just one direction. Wang Lin's eyes flashed as he slowly said, "It's 4 directions. What the hell is going on?" Li Yuan frowned and looked at the cultivators flying in the distance. Wang Lin pondered a bit and didn't continue to speak. He took Li Yuan with him and moved even faster. Just at this moment, more than 10 rays of sword energy flew through the void with thunderous rumbles. Powerful origin energy spread out, causing the surrounding cultivators to avoid them. They didn't dare to get in their way. These more than 10 rays of sword energy flew through the void with shocking momentum. They were filled with an incomparably domineering aura. Even some of the families with a lot of cultivators had their expressions change when they saw the 10 rays of sword energy and immediately retreated. There was no need to even mention the cultivators that were flying alone. The moment they saw the 10 rays of sword energy, they immediately stopped and didn't dare to steal their momentum. At this moment, almost all the cultivators in the void before Wang Lin looked at the 10 rays of sword energy and quickly moved out of the way. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he looked at the 10 rays of sword energy and didn't say a word. The 10 rays of sword energy didn't stop and charge through the void. However, just as they were about to disappear, one of the rays of sword energy suddenly stopped, changed direction, and flew toward Wang Lin. At the same time, the other rays of sword energy also stopped and turned into cultivators of both men and women. Without exception, all of them were above the ascendant stage. Most of them were at the illusory yin stage, and only a few of them were at the corporeal yang stage. After they revealed themselves, they all looked at the ray of sword energy that was flying toward Wang Lin with confusion in their eyes. Not only them, but the other cultivators in the surrounding void whether they were alone or with their clansmen, all had their gazes fixed on the sword light and moved along with it. Li Yuan's expression changed slightly. He raised his left hand and secretly activated a restriction. Only Wang Lin's expression remained the same, and he nodded at the ray of sword energy that was flying toward him. The ray of sword energy stopped 200 feet away from Wang Lin and turned into a person. This person looked to be about 30 years old. His face was white without any facial hair, and he was slightly handsome. However, his pair of phoenix eyes revealed an incongruously feminine look. He was wearing a purple and gold robe. He stood up straight and clasped his hands at Wang Lin. His attitude was extremely respectful, and he said, "Junior Jean, Kong Lai greets Senior." The moment he spoke, almost everyone who heard him was startled. Their gazes all fell on Wang Lin at the same time. At this moment, although there weren't many cultivators, it was no less than the attention of tens of thousands of people. The gazes didn't cause Wang Lin's expression to change at all. He was still as calm as water. Jean Kong Lai was very famous, so some of the surrounding cultivators recognized him. Even those who didn't, when they felt the dense origin energy coming from Jean Konglia's body and heard his words, they immediately knew that this person was the Luo Tian Southern Domain Jean Kong Lai. Who is this person? His cultivation level is about the same as Jean Konglia's. How could the famous Jean Kong Lai of the Southern Domain call him senior? Jean Kong Lai is rumored to have become a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. To be called senior by him, could he be an elder of the Thunder Celestial Temple? All kinds of thoughts appeared in the hearts of the surrounding cultivators. In particular, the dozen or so people that were traveling with Jean Kong Lai revealed looks of disbelief as they looked at Wang Lin. They were all the leaders of their respective cultivation families. When Jean Kong Lai suddenly turned around and didn't say anything, they were already surprised. Now that they heard him call Jean Kong Lai senior, they became even more suspicious. It has to be said that Jean Konglia's cultivation level was at the peak among them, and they knew that he was an extremely arrogant person. This kind of arrogance wasn't something he showed on the outside, but it came from his inner pride. Even the elders of his family were often looked down upon by him. It was very rare for him to be willing and respectfully called someone senior. Jean Kong Lai was extremely respectful at this moment. This respect came from the bottom of his heart and wasn't fake at all. He was completely in awe of Wang Lin. Now that he saw Wang Lin, he naturally saw Wang Lin's corporeal yang cultivation, and his heart was filled with regret. He is indeed worthy of being a senior. Back then, he suppressed his cultivation to the ascendant level, so I couldn't see through him. Now that he has raised his cultivation to the corporeal yang level, I can't see through him at all. The respect in Jean Konglia's eyes became even stronger. Back then, when he left, he was filled with regret and was extremely envious of Shengong Hu. Even after he returned to his family, he was still a bit hesitant. He wondered if he should be like Shengong Hu and seize this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. With this thought in mind, when he heard that Shengong had been punished by his family and had been abandoned by the Thunder Celestial Temple, his heart became very complicated. If he hadn't experienced this, he would have laughed 3 times and laughed at Shengong Hu's misfortune. However, after experiencing what had happened at the lightning reservoir, he approved of Shengong Hu's actions and felt sorrow for them. In fact, he even felt admiration for Shengong Hu in his heart. Li Yuan stared dumbfoundedly at Wang Lin, and his mind went blank. He knew the name Jean Kong Lai. Jean Kong Lai was one of the 3 geniuses of the Southern Domain, along with Shengong Hu and Tang Yinfeng in the Luo Tian Southern Domain. They were all geniuses that had reached the corporeal yang stage in a very short period of time. However, right now, Jean Kong Lai was calling Sumu a senior. This caused Li Yuan to be in a bit of a trance. Wang Lin looked at Jean Kong Lai and frowned. "Why are you in such a hurry? Where are you going?" When Jean Kong Lai saw Wang Lin frown, his heart trembled, and he became even more respectful. He quickly said, "In the Thunder Celestial Realm, there are 4 fragments with dense, celestial, spiritual energy. However, there are restrictions protecting them, so they can't be broken in a short period of time. However, once the restrictions are broken, great treasures will appear. After Junior found out about this, I was prepared to go check it out. Wang Lin looked around. It was obvious that all the cultivators he had met along the way had found out about what Zhang Konglai had said through their own methods, which was why all of this had happened. Restrictions protecting them. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. After pondering a bit, he waved his hand and said, "Since that is the case, I hope you will be able to obtain everything." Zhang Konglai hesitated a bit and respectfully said, "Junior's confidence isn't high. I wonder if Senior has time. Also, Junior and Brother Shingang have an agreement to meet on the left fragment to seize the treasure." Wang Lin frowned even more and said, "I have other important matters to attend to. If I have time, I'll go take a look." Zhang Konglai quickly nodded, and his eyes were filled with excitement. Aside from when he was with Wang Lin, his family, and a few people from the Thunder Celestial Temple, he would never reveal this expression. Zhang Konglai thought to himself, "Since Senior has said this, then I'm 100% confident in obtaining the treasure." Zhang Konglai thought to himself as he respectfully retreated. He turned into a ray of sword light and returned to the group of cultivators. The cultivators with him all followed him with doubt in their eyes. It wasn't until they were far away that a woman in white couldn't help but softly ask, "Big Brother Zhang, who was that person just now?" Zhang Konglai faintly smiled. There was still respect in his eyes as he said, "That was a senior expert. It was my fortune to meet him." Chapter 781. Under the gazes of all the cultivators, Wang Lin's body flickered and he stepped into the void. Li Yuan followed closely behind, and the two of them gradually disappeared into the void. Along the way, Li Yuan wanted to ask many times, but in the end, he held himself back and didn't mention Zhang Konglai. Li Yuan's wisdom allowed him to know that there were many things that didn't need to be asked. Everyone had their own secrets. Time quickly passed, and in the blink of an eye, several months went by. As the two of them got closer to the center, they encountered more and more cultivators. Their speed didn't slow down, and on this day, they finally arrived at the center of the Thunder Celestial Realm. After arriving here, they could no longer see any cultivators. The surroundings were completely dark, and not a single person could be seen. Standing in the void, Wang Lin looked around. In the memory of the old man from the Yao family, the sealed collection pavilion fragment was here. Wang Lin said, "Brotherly, do you see any clues about this place?" The moment Wang Lin stopped, Li Yuan's left hand formed a seal, and his eyes revealed the light of deduction. A moment later, his expression became serious, and he nodded. "There are indeed ripples of restrictions here. Although they're very faint, I can feel them with my heart restriction. This restriction technique is similar to a celestial restriction, but there are some differences." As he spoke, he pressed forward with his left hand. Immediately, a restriction flew out of his hand, split into 18 parts, and fell into the void in front of him. In an instant, an illusory outline flashed in the void and immediately disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. When the outline appeared, he vaguely saw a translucent continent appear out of nowhere. There was a towering pavilion on the continent, but it disappeared after a moment, so he couldn't see it clearly. Li Yuan said, "Brother Su, I need some time." Li Yuan said in a deep voice. Every time he broke a restriction, there would be an aura of confidence around him. After he finished speaking, he sat down in the air and formed seals with his left hand, creating restrictions one after another. Sometimes he would press his left hand against his brow, and a black line would flash out. Whenever this happened, the black line would sweep up the restrictions he had created, forming an extremely complicated mark that fell into the void. In the blink of an eye, the illusory image of the continent would appear once again. However, in the same instant, it would disappear again. Its speed was so fast that it was impossible to rush through the gap. Wang Lin wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he focused his attention on the continent that appeared in the void. Gradually, as Li Yuan increased the speed of the restriction, the number of times the continent appeared also increased. Wang Lin stared at it unblinkingly as he slowly got a clear view of the continent. At the center of the continent, the huge pavilion was shaped like 4 sharp spikes that rose from the ground. They looked like two pairs of bull horns that pierced into the sky. On top of the four horns sat four people. These four people were motionless, and when Wang Lin looked at them, they didn't pay any attention. Wang Lin's pupils shrank, and his eyes flickered coldly. Brother Su, if I want to completely break this restriction, I'm afraid it will take several months. However, if I don't break it and just send you in with your speed and my restriction, I have an 80% chance of success. Brother Su, make your own decision, Li Yuan said in a deep voice. Wang Lin took a step forward and arrived at the edge of the flickering continent. He slowly said, if that's the case, then send me in. Brother Li, hide yourself. This place is very dangerous, so don't get dragged into it. Once I obtain the celestial spell, we will leave. Li Yuan didn't waste any more time. He pointed at his brow with his left hand, and several black lines flew out, intertwining with each other to form a seal. At the same time, he sent out a large amount of restrictions that merged with the seal, causing it to emit bursts of black light. Li Yuan's eyes lit up. He quickly pointed with his left hand and shouted, Heart Restriction Destruction. The restriction seal immediately flew out and landed in the void. In an instant, the fragment appeared once again. However, this time, it flickered continuously. The moment the fragment disappeared, it reformed once more before disappearing again. This rapid cycle caused the scene before them to be filled with strange colors. As for the seal, it continued to emit a black glow. As the fragment flickered, it immediately expanded and formed a circular passage. However, this passage was not stable, as if it could collapse at any time. Enter! The moment Li Yuan shouted, Wang Lin charged forward. It was as if he had turned into a bolt of lightning as he charged into the circular passage. The moment his body entered the passage collapsed. The fragment, along with Wang Lin, disappeared into the void. I hope Brother Su will be able to find something. Li Yuan pondered for a bit. His left hand formed a seal, and his body gradually hid inside the restriction, not leaking any aura. The surrounding void returned to normal. Wang Lin's body moved like lightning and appeared on the fragment. The moment he charged out, his divine sense spread out. There was no void behind him, but a light curtain of restrictions. It was these restrictions that separated this fragment from the Thunder Celestial Realm and made it the forbidden land of the four cultivation families. The moment his divine sense spread out, it locked onto the pavilion at the center of the fragment. At the same time, one of the people in the four corners of the pavilion opened his eyes and coldly looked into the distance. Then his body flickered and he disappeared. Wang Lin's speed was extremely fast as he charged toward the pavilion in the distance. Just at this moment, there was a fluctuation of origin energy before him, and a person walked out. This person looked middle-aged, wore black, and had a cold expression. After he appeared, his right hand formed a seal and pressed down on Wang Lin. Old man, I've been watching you for a long time. Trespassing into the forbidden land, die. His right hand formed a seal, and a powerful force shot out. Wang Lin immediately retreated, and his right hand pushed forward. The origin energy between the two of them collided, creating a thunderous rumble that spread out in all directions. The black-robed man's eyes were cold. He had already seen that Wang Lin's cultivation was the same as his at the corporeal yang stage. At this moment, he took a step forward and pointed at the sky with his right hand. A powerful force suddenly descended from the sky. Shortly after, a bolt of celestial thunder suddenly appeared in the sky and descended on Wang Lin. This is the Thunder Celestial Realm, and the collection pavilion belongs to the Celestial Realm. Why can your four families come, but I can't? Wang Lin let out a cold snort and charged out. At this moment, the celestial thunder descended from the sky, but Wang Lin didn't dodge at all. Instead, the moment the celestial thunder descended, his origin soul appeared and devoured the celestial thunder. Thunder immediately moved around his body, making him look extremely shocking. The black-robed man was startled, and his expression became gloomy. He obviously didn't expect Wang Lin to be able to devour celestial thunder. Just at this moment, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He opened his mouth and spat out a grain of sand. He pointed forward, and the grain of sand immediately expanded into the fragment stamp. It gave off a powerful pressure and pressed down on the black-robed man. "Because you're not qualified." The black-robed man sneered and raised his hand. His hand formed a seal, but his expression immediately changed. His spell had no effect on the descending fragment stamp. The fragment imprint descended with shocking momentum. The pressure it emitted made the black-robed cultivator feel like he couldn't dodge it. In an instant, the imprint descended, causing a rumbling sound to echo out. The black-robed man's eyes were filled with shock. At this moment of crisis, he bit the tip of his tongue and coughed out a large mouthful of blood. There was a flash of blood light around his body, and he charged out of the pressure and appeared 1,000 feet away. The moment he appeared, his face turned pale and his eyes were filled with viciousness. Without a word, he turned around and left. Wang Lin raised his right hand and chased after the black-robed man with the stamp in his hand. The two of them charged toward the pavilion at the center of the continent, one after the other. When the black-robed man arrived next to the pavilion, he immediately shouted, "Still not attacking?" The three people in the four corners of the pavilion opened their eyes. In a flash, they arrived next to the black-robed man and coldly looked at the incoming Wang Lin. The remaining three were all at the corporeal yang stage. At this moment, four corporeal yang cultivators stood together and formed a powerful aura that locked onto Wang Lin. A dense killing intent was emitted from his body. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as he slowly said, "The collection pavilion doesn't belong to your four families. Let me go and we can avoid a battle. Otherwise, even if I lose, half of you will die." One of them coldly said, "Unless you are a Nirvana scryer, cultivator, outsiders aren't qualified to enter the collection pavilion." One of them coldly said. They naturally saw through Wang Lin's cultivation, and the scene just now shocked them. However, with the four of them working together, they didn't care about what Wang Lin had said at all. At this moment, the black-robed man's aura calmed down. He let out a cold snort and stepped out. He slapped his bag of holding, and a red flying sword appeared. He pointed at Wang Lin, and the other three also charged out. The other three also charged out. One of them formed a seal with both hands, and immediately a gust of wind appeared, forming a vortex before him. The other two looked at each other, and each formed a seal. Their spells formed a yin and yang pattern. As it rotated, it gave off a mysterious force and charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he immediately retreated. At the same time, he threw out the fragment stamp and mercilessly smashed down. The two people who had formed the yin and yang symbols immediately flew into the air. The yin and yang symbols in their hands flew into the air to fight against the fragment stamp. The two of them formed seals with their hands and used their own spells to stop the fragment stamp from descending. As for the other two, they moved like lightning toward Wang Lin with magical treasures and spells. They were filled with killing intent. As Wang Lin retreated, large amounts of origin energy rippled out. It was as if his body had merged with the world. As he retreated, he suddenly stopped and took a step forward. With this step, Wang Lin's body disappeared without trace. When he reappeared, he was behind the black-robed man. The black-robed man was shocked and suddenly turned around. The red flying sword whistled toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes were calm. He pointed with his right hand and shouted, "Stop!" In an instant, the black-robed man and his flying sword stopped completely. Wang Lin didn't hesitate. He ignored the flying sword and arrived before the black-robed man. His finger landed between the black-robed man's eyebrows, and origin energy surged out. The black-robed man's body immediately collapsed. His origin soul flew out in panic and was about to escape when a karma whip appeared. It lashed out, causing the black-robed man's origin soul to let out a miserable cry and emit a large amount of origin energy. Just at this moment, the last person aside from the one dealing with the fragment stamp charged at Wang Lin with a powerful whirlwind. He was obviously going to stop Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't even look at this person. The beast bone tattoo on the back of his right hand moved and flew toward the cultivator with the tornado. At the same time, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding, and the 1 billion soul flag appeared. It turned into a black fog that devoured the black-robed man's origin soul. The black-robed man was about to fight back when he saw the blood ancestor's origin soul flickering in and out of the black fog. The black-robed man was shocked. The familiar face caused him to relax for a moment, and the result was the black fog surrounding him. All of this was done very cleanly. After collecting the black-robed man's origin soul, Wang Lin waved his sleeve, and the area within 1,000 feet was surrounded by black fog. His eyes revealed a strange light as he stared at the remaining 3 people and said, "I want to enter the collection pavilion." The 2 people fighting against the fragment seal felt their hearts tremble. Before they could speak, they heard another scream. The cultivator who had used the whirlwind spell was rapidly retreating. Before him, the beast bone's eyes gave off a ghostly light, and an unimaginable, almost monstrous killing intent filled the area. At this moment, the killing intent reached a peak. Even though Wang Lin was the owner of the treasure, he still felt his heart tremble. The killing intent was simply too strong. There was no need to even mention the other 3. The moment the killing intent appeared, it disappeared without a trace. However, the tornado of the cultivator with the tornado instantly turned gray and turned into a statue. Seeing the gaze of the beast bone land on him, the cultivator's face turned pale, and he immediately retreated. However, just at this moment, the killing intent appeared again. The cultivator's eyes were filled with fear. His right hand immediately turned gray and spread like crazy. In this moment of crisis, he raised his left hand without hesitation and cut off his right arm. He didn't care about the blood spurting out as he quickly retreated 10,000 feet away. He sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. Even so, even though he had cut off his arm, the gray color didn't disappear. Instead, it appeared on his left hand and spread even faster. The cultivator's eyes were filled with despair. He clenched his teeth as the gray color spread all over his body. His origin soul flew out from the top of his head and abandoned his body. The moment his origin soul flew out, his entire origin soul turned into a stone statue without any signs of life. The only thing left in the air was his lonely origin soul. It was extremely bleak. The surroundings were completely silent. I want to ask everyone, do I have the qualifications? Wang Lin's gaze fell on the 2 cultivators fighting against the fragment stamp. His voice was filled with coldness, crazy for the monthly votes. Last month, the monthly votes were almost at 1,000, but now it was 100 votes short. It looked like he had no choice but to explode. Today, it was 7,000 words. Tomorrow, it will explode with 9,000 words. Begging for monthly votes, sincerely begging for monthly votes. At this moment, the renegade celestial was desperate for monthly votes. Crazy for monthly votes. Chapter 782. The cultivation families in the Luo Tian star system had a hierarchy that outsiders didn't know about. It was just like the rank 1 to 9 cultivation countries in the Alliance star system. In the Alliance star system, a rank 7 cultivation planet was the peak existence on the surface, but rank 8 cultivation planets were very rare. Rank 8 cultivation planets were extremely rare. There were only 3 in the entire Alliance star system. As for the most mysterious rank 9 cultivation planet, there was only 1 in the entire Alliance star system. The cultivation families in the Luo Tian star system were similar, but they had a long history. Only the families that had existed for a long time could have an eternal existence in the Luo Tian star system. In the Luo Tian star system, the most common cultivation families were from the 4 main planets. Their strength was about the same, and often there would be 3 or 4 families on a single cultivation planet. For example, the Tang family and the Zhan family were at the peak of this star system. Above these cultivation families were the 4 great cultivation families with inheritances from the celestial realm. They were the most powerful forces in the Luo Tian star system on the surface. Tracing back to their roots, The ancestors of these four great cultivation families were all celestials before the collapse of the Thunder celestial realm, and their statuses weren't ordinary. Similarly, above these four great cultivation families were two other families. They were usually low-key, but they were the truly powerful forces in the Luo-Tian star system. Families with inheritances even longer than those from the celestial realm were those that had existed since ancient times and had survived the collapse of the celestial realm. In the Luo-Tian star system, there were 6 of these families. The mysterious Xiang family on planet Donglin and Li Yuan's family were one of them. However, after too much time, most of the cultivation families with inheritances from ancient times had declined. The Li family was an example. Aside from the Li family, there were 3 other families that had also disappeared. As of now, there were only 2 cultivation families with inheritances from ancient times left, just like how the Alliance star system had a rank 9 cultivation country. In the All-Heaven star system, there was an existence even more ancient than the cultivation families that had existed since ancient times, the Ancient Era. The ancient cultivation families were the true powerhouses of the Luo-Tian star system, and they were extremely mysterious. To be able to exist from ancient times until now, their foundation was terrifying. Just thinking about it made one's hair stand on end. This meant that this family had experienced the changes of ancient times, the collapse of the celestial realm, the journey of the Thunder Celestial Temple, and the changes of the entire Luo-Tian star system. It was even possible that this cultivation family with inheritances from ancient times knew the secrets of the ancient celestial realm. Just their cultivation methods were enough to surpass the Luo-Tian celestial realm. Aside from the rank 8 and 9 cultivation countries in the Alliance star system, Wang Lin knew about all of these things. While traveling with Li Yuan told Wang Lin everything he knew about these families. This was why, when facing the 4 great families with inheritances from the celestial realm, Wang Lin was very calm. In the sky above the fragment where the collection pavilion was located, the 2 old men that were working together to resist the fragment stamp pondered for a moment. One of them wryly smiled and said, "For fellow cultivator to have such spells and treasures, you can't be a nobody. I hope you can leave your name." Wang Lin's expression was calm as he slowly said, "Su Mu." The old man's eyes narrowed, and he said, "Although fellow cultivator, Su hasn't reached the Nirvana Scryer stage. With your strength, we can't stop you. You have the qualifications to enter the collection pavilion." Just as he finished speaking, the other old man looked at Wang Lin and suddenly said, "Does fellow cultivator Su have any relationship with the Su family on planet Donglin?" Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he looked at the person who spoke. The old man hesitated for a bit before his eyes lit up, and he said, "If fellow cultivator Su isn't someone from planet Donglin, then I, on behalf of the Chun family, would like to invite fellow cultivator to become a foreign elder of my Chun family." Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he revealed a smile. "It's not impossible, but right now my goal is the collection pavilion. I hope the 3 of you can help me." Wang Lin's gaze swept past the origin soul that had lost its body. The cultivator that had lost his body let out a sigh and had a complicated expression. When he heard Wang Lin's words, he was certain that Wang Lin understood the collection pavilion very well. The collection pavilion could only be entered after it was opened, and the key to opening it required at least 2 people from the 2 families to activate it at the same time. What happened next was simple. With the 3 of them working together, they opened the collection pavilion. The 4 corners of the pavilion slowly trembled. The 4 corners gathered and touched each other. There was a flash of soft light, and an oval door of light appeared where the 4 corners touched. "Fellow Taoist Su, members of my Chun clan have entered the collection pavilion no less than 100 times. Although obtaining an immortal art in this pavilion relies on luck, and everyone sees different things after entering, it isn't impossible to find. The longer one persists within it, the more precious the immortal art obtained in the end. I wish fellow Taoists Su great gains." The person who had invited Wang Lin to become a foreign elder of the Chun family clasped his hands and spoke sincerely. Wang Lin nodded. From memories of the old man from the Yao family, he knew that the four families didn't have the power to set up a trap inside the collection pavilion. Moreover, everything before him was the same as the memories of the old man named Yao. Wang Lin no longer hesitated. He put away his treasure and arrived before the door of light. He took a deep breath and stepped in. After Wang Lin entered, the old man who lost his body sighed. If we knew this person was so powerful, we wouldn't have needed to do anything. We could have just let him in. With his cultivation, he will only be able to enter the 4th floor at most, just like us. The 4th floor is already the limit. However, who would have thought that this person's treasures would be so powerful? His cultivation is the same as ours, but it seems like he still has something up his sleeves. If he didn't know that he needed our help to open the collection pavilion, he would have killed more than one person in the battle just now. Indeed, from what he did just now, he clearly wanted to kill the two of us. If I didn't react fast enough, my origin soul would have collapsed like my body. The old man who lost his body bitterly smiled. Forget it. What's the point of saying all this now? Since he has entered, let him enter. The celestial spell on the 4th floor will depend on his luck, the old man from the Chun family said slowly. Fellow Chun, do you really want to invite this person to become a foreign elder of your Chun family? The old man who lost his body asked. The old man named Chun nodded and said in a deep voice, this person is very powerful. My Chun family needs such a person. Fellow Taoists, don't fight with me. If this person really becomes a foreign elder of the Chun family, then please pretend that you don't know anything about fellow Yao's death. As for fellow Lu's body, my Chun family will compensate you. Fellow Song, my Chun family will also get a small share of your share. Of course, the condition is that this person joins my Chun family. As the three of them spoke, Wang Lin arrived in a strange space. He was surrounded by a gray fog and couldn't use his divine sense. Faint murmurs came from all directions and entered Wang Lin's ears, but he couldn't hear them clearly. Just at this moment, the surrounding fog moved extremely fast and gathered before Wang Lin like a wave. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a person. This person's body was made of fog, so his clothes couldn't be seen. However, his face could be seen. This person's face was very ordinary, but there was an aura that was different from that of a cultivator. After he appeared, he calmly looked at Wang Lin. He raised his right hand, palm facing out, and didn't move. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. From the memories of the old man named Yao, he knew that although the people who entered the collection pavilion didn't have the same opportunities, there was one thing that was the test of cultivation level. After pondering for a moment, Wang Lin took a few steps forward. He arrived before the figure, raised his right hand, and pressed it against the figure's palm. In an instant, a strange force entered Wang Lin's body from the figure's palm. It quickly circulated around Wang Lin's body before returning. A low voice echoed in the surroundings. Rank 8 Upper Celestial. You can go to the 4th floor of the collection pavilion to choose a celestial spell. Wang Lin withdrew his right hand. His eyes lit up and he muttered to himself, Rank 8 Upper Celestial. How are the realms of celestials divided? Right now, my cultivation hasn't reached the peak of the corporeal yang realm. If I did, what level of celestial would I become? At this moment, the figure formed by the fog began to slowly dissipate. Wang Lin knew that once it completely dissipated, he would be teleported to the 4th floor. Everything would depend on his luck. However, no matter how great his luck was, he would only be able to obtain a celestial spell on the 4th floor. It was clear that no one knew how many floors there were in the collection pavilion, but the higher one went, the higher the grade of the celestial spell would be. It was likely that on the highest floor, even a very ordinary celestial spell would become a top existence in the lower floors. However, this test of cultivation couldn't be faked. Everything depended on one's own strength. This was also a type of luck. Only with a high cultivation level could one obtain a precious celestial spell. If one's cultivation level wasn't high enough, then everything was out of the question. Seeing that the figure in the fog was about to completely dissipate, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and an extremely bold idea suddenly appeared in his mind. The moment this idea appeared, his heart began to pound wildly and his mouth even felt dry. After hesitating for a moment, he clenched his teeth and slapped his bag of holding. A pagoda immediately appeared in his hand. His eyes revealed a strange light as he slapped the pagoda with his left hand. Immediately, the female corpse in white appeared before Wang Lin. Wang Lin took a few steps back and formed a seal with both hands. He circulated the origin energy in his body and guided the female corpse to raise her right hand to touch the palm of the slowly dissipating figure. Wang Lin's heart was pounding, and he stared at the figure intently. In an instant, the figure formed by the fog showed signs of collapsing. Its entire body trembled slightly, and after a long time, a deep voice echoed. Ninth rank Celestial Lord. You can go to the 9th floor of the Collection Pavilion to look up the Celestial spell. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with excitement. He clenched his fists and immediately put the female corpse into the pagoda and his bag of holding. His heart was pounding. He was usually calm, but it was rare for his emotions to fluctuate so violently. Relying on luck to obtain celestial spells and looking up celestial spells. The meaning behind these two sentences is too different. Chapter 783. The figure dissipated and the fog turned into a staircase that extended from Wang Lin to an unknown end. Wang Lin took a deep breath and revealed a decisive gaze as he stepped onto the staircase. As he continued to move forward, the staircase behind him slowly disappeared. At this moment, on the fragment outside the Collection Pavilion, the three old men were talking when they saw a flash of light. This light became brighter and brighter until it was almost blinding. The old man from the Chun family looked at the light and calmly said, "This fellow cultivator Su's celestial fate is about to begin. I just don't know what kind of celestial spell he will obtain on the 4th floor." The cultivator named Lu, who lost his body, nodded and said, "There is a connection between cultivation and celestial fate. Although it isn't much, it can be useful at certain times. I'm afraid this person will be able to obtain a good celestial spell in the 4th floor." The last cultivator, named Song, didn't speak, but stared at the light above the Collection Pavilion. His eyes shined brightly, and he said, "Something is wrong." The Chen family and Lu family were startled. They looked at the Collection Pavilion, and their expressions immediately changed. Above the Collection Pavilion, after the first ray of light, another 4 rays of light appeared. They stood side by side with the first ray of light and rushed into the sky. Rings of ripples spread out in all directions in the sky. Looking up from the ground, this scene was extremely spectacular. 5 rays of light. This person actually entered the 5th floor. The cultivator, named Lu, who lost his body, stared at the 5 rays of light with a look of disbelief in his eyes. It looks like we have all underestimated this fellow cultivator Su. His cultivation level is definitely at the peak of the corporeal yang stage. I fear he is half a step into the Nirvana Scryer stage and barely meets the requirement to enter the 5th floor. The cultivator named Song's eyes lit up an undetectable amount. The cultivator named Chun frowned and slowly said, "If he was at the Nirvana Scryer stage, it would be impossible for him to enter the Thunder Celestial Realm, unless, before he finished speaking, more rays of light appeared above the Collection Pavilion. This time there were 2 rays of light that shot into the sky and joined the other 5 rays of light. The 7 rays of light were extremely magnificent, but when the 3 of them saw it, they were all dumbfounded. Impossible, 7 rays of light, this is the 7th floor. Impossible." The old man named Song stared blankly at the sky as he muttered to himself. Having lost his physical body, the cultivator, surnamed Lu's soul, also stiffened. He stared blankly at the 7 rays of light, his mind completely blank. As for the cultivator named Chun, it was even more so. His eyes were filled with shock as he murmured, "What kind of cultivation level is needed to enter the 7th floor? That Su Mu's cultivation level is definitely not at this level. Could it be? Could it be that this person really has the kind of peerless fate that allows him to enter the 7th floor without needing to take the test?" Under the dumbfounded gazes of the 3, another 2 streaks of light flew out from the Collection Pavilion. 9 streaks of light pierced through the clouds. In the eyes of the 3, This scene was like a series of claps of thunder exploding. The three of them were speechless and could only stare blankly at the sky. If there were 5 streaks of light, they could understand that Su Mu's cultivation might have been slightly concealed. Although it was a little surprising that he had entered the 5th level, it was still barely acceptable. However, after the 7 streaks of light appeared, they were shocked and couldn't believe that Su Mu had been hiding his cultivation. In particular, the 9 streaks of light shocked their minds. All of this could only be explained by great celestial fate. There was no other explanation. The impact the 9 streaks of light brought to the 3 of them was simply too great. It has to be said that even the ancestors of their respective families had only been able to enter the 8th floor when the Thunder Celestial Realm first opened. No one could enter the 9th floor. As Wang Lin walked, he reached the end of the stairs. With one step, his eyes lit up. He was in a pavilion. This pavilion wasn't big, and there were more than a dozen wooden lattices on the left and right walls. Inside each lattice was a celestial jade that gave off a soft glow. There was also a painting hanging on the wall in front of him. There was a tree in the painting, and half of the tree's leaves were withered. There was a boy sitting under the tree, and he seemed to be cultivating. In the upper left corner of the painting, there was a sentence written in ink. Call the wind, summon the rain, magic arsenal, shatter the earth, collapse the mountains, and clear the dark moon. Looking at the painting, Wang Lin silently pondered for a bit. He couldn't find any clues, but he felt that the sentence on the painting was very interesting. Call the wind, summon the rain. These should be 2 spells, and magic arsenal should also be 1 spell. As for the second half, it's the same as call the wind, summon the rain, but clear the dark moon. What does it mean? Unable to see through the meaning behind it, Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and began to look around the room. This room was very simple. There wasn't even a table. There was only a stone mat on the floor that was deeply sunken in. It was obvious that someone had been cultivating on it for a long time. Wang Lin took a few steps forward and carefully looked at the mat. This thing was very ordinary, but when Wang Lin touched it, he was shocked to find that his hand had penetrated the mat. Wang Lin frowned slightly as he looked at the lattices on the left and right. A moment later, his expression became a bit gloomy. The joy from before was immediately swept away. Although there were celestial jades in the lattices on the left and right, they were like mats. They were all illusory and didn't exist at all. Wang Lin smiled bitterly as he observed. He discovered that everything here could be seen, but he couldn't touch them. It was as if he was in an illusion. If I had known this would happen, I would have gone to the 4th floor. It definitely wouldn't be like this. Wang Lin frowned as he looked around the room. His gaze finally fell on the painting in front of him. After pondering for a moment, Wang Lin's eyes flickered. He sat down cross-legged and stared at the painting in silence. The 9th floor that an immortal lord can come to is definitely not that simple. Perhaps this illusory scene looks like this to me, but to an immortal lord, he only needs to raise his hand to obtain it. It's a bit strange to have such a painting here. Wang Lin looked at the painting carefully. Time slowly passed, and Wang Lin's heart slowly calmed down. He was not willing to leave the 9th floor empty-handed. After analyzing it, this painting was very likely the key. He opened up his mind and focused his attention on the painting, wanting to find some clues within it. Gradually, Wang Lin's expression became calm. He stared at the painting without blinking. His entire mind was immersed in the painting as he silently comprehended it. As time passed, Wang Lin slowly closed his eyes. Although he had closed his eyes, the painting still appeared in his mind. He felt as if his entire being had entered the painting. After a long time, he opened his eyes and muttered to himself, "That's not right. There's always a barrier that prevents me from truly entering the painting." After pondering for a moment, his eyes suddenly narrowed and his gaze fell on the boy under the tree. He clearly remembered that the boy was just meditating, and his hands didn't have any seals. However, at this moment, the boy's hands in the painting were forming seals. This discovery made Wang Lin's mind shake, and he began to carefully observe the boy. Time passed again. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed. After careful observation, Wang Lin discovered that the boy's hand seals would change every 4 to 6 hours. However, the changes were very subtle. If one didn't pay attention to the boy's fingers, it would be very difficult to notice. During these 7 days, Wang Lin memorized all the boy's hand seals. On the 8th day, he sat cross-legged on the ground and formed seals with both hands. He immediately formed all the hand seals. As the hand seals appeared, the entire pavilion suddenly shook. Wang Lin was startled and immediately stopped. He carefully looked around, pondered for a moment, and then continued forming hand seals. Similarly, when the hand seals appeared again, the entire pavilion shook again, as if it was shrinking. This discovery shocked Wang Lin greatly. His hand seal sped up, but the pavilion only shook a few times before stopping. Unable to understand, Wang Lin looked at the painting and his hand seals became faster. He gradually felt like his body was disappearing and his mind was floating toward the painting. When the last hand seal appeared, Wang Lin felt a boom in his head. His body tilted and he fell to the ground. His origin soul trembled, his vision blurred, and he felt dizzy. When his vision cleared, Wang Lin's mind trembled and he looked around in a daze. His surroundings were empty, and behind him was a large tree. Half of the tree was withered, and at this moment, a breeze blew by, causing the leaves to rustle. Looking down, Wang Lin found that he was wearing a Taoist robe. He had entered the painting and had become the boy in the painting. This scene was too strange. Wang Lin stood up and looked at the sky. He saw a few black ink marks in the sky above him. These ink marks were the words he had seen outside the painting. Call the wind and summon the rain. Cast beams to form soldiers. The earth shatters. The mountains crumble, and the moon shines brightly. This line of words immediately changed under Wang Lin's gaze. They turned into drops of ink that fell from the sky like rain. In an instant, the surrounding void disappeared and was replaced by a clamor. Figures appeared in the void. Their faces couldn't be seen clearly, but after they appeared, they immediately sat down. In the end, the area around Wang Lin was filled with people. Bursts of soft chatter could be heard, but the strange thing was that although Wang Lin could hear them, he couldn't hear them clearly. A moment later, all the noise disappeared and a person walked out from the void. This person's body was also blurry, but the moment he appeared, a pressure filled the area. This person floated in the air and sat down in the lotus position. He seemed to be smiling and a clear voice came out. Today, Master Carefree painted for the first time the collection Celestial Pavilion opened. Celestial Lord painted and even called me here to watch. He invited all the celestial friends here to listen to my Tao while I paint. This is my Tao. As the person spoke, he raised his right hand and a gust of wind immediately appeared. This wind was black and filled the sky. As it swept the area, it turned into 9 black dragons. The roars of the dragons and their powerful auras caused the sky to change colors. As the black wind swept the area, the 9 black dragons opened their mouths and spat out a gust of cold wind. This unimaginably powerful force made people feel like their lives were like candlelight. If they were blown by this wind, they would immediately die. It was as if all living things in the world would collapse and die if this wind blew by. The mysterious power contained in this wind had exceeded Wang Lin's imagination. This is Call the Wind. The Grand Tao is simple, and Call the Wind is like this. It can extinguish the fire of all living things. Wang Lin's mind trembled, and an unimaginable pain came from his body as if it was going to be torn apart. His origin soul immediately collapsed and scattered. Just at this moment, a gentle force appeared from the void and wrapped around Wang Lin's broken origin soul. A clear voice laughed and said, "The Celestial Emperor's spell is extraordinary. This spell, Call the Wind, will be written on Master Carefree's painting. This painting will be placed on the 9th floor of the collection Celestial Pavilion. In the future, those who are fated will enter the painting to comprehend it. Whether or not they can comprehend this spell will depend on their fated fate." At the same time the voice appeared, Wang Lin's broken origin soul was wrapped up like ink. Someone used a brush to write 2 words. Call the Wind. At the same time, a powerful force came from those 2 words. Wang Lin's origin soul reformed and was ejected from the painting. His vision blurred as he flew out from the painting and returned to his body that was lying on the ground. Wang Lin's body trembled, and he opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with terror. The voice from the painting still lingered in his ears. Is this the fated fate? Wang Lin took a deep breath and stared at the painting on the wall. Everything just now felt extremely real to him. Celestial Emperor, Celestial Lord, and Master Carefree. Wang Lin stared at the painting and finally realized that the style of this painting was the same as the one he saw in the storage space. It was clearly drawn by the same person. After pondering for a long time, Wang Lin stood up. He didn't even look at the celestial jades around him and turned to leave. Compared to the celestial spell in his mind, everything on the 9th floor paled in comparison. After walking out of the 9th floor, a flight of stairs appeared under Wang Lin's feet. He slowly walked down, but his eyes were still in a daze, as if he hadn't completely recovered from the scene in the painting. Celestial spell, call the wind. As Wang Lin muttered to himself, he walked down the stairs until he reached the bottom. With one step, he disappeared without a trace. On the fragment where the collection pavilion was located, Chun, Liu, and Song had already recovered from the shock after a few days. However, they were still in disbelief about everything that had happened. Jealousy appeared in the hearts of the three of them without exception. This jealousy gradually grew stronger, and in the end, it almost replaced their rationality. After all, they couldn't guess what the celestial spell on the 9th floor was, but the more they thought about it, the stronger their desire to obtain it became. At this moment, the door of light on the collection pavilion flashed, and Wang Lin's figure walked out. With a dazed expression, he passed by the three of them and walked into the distance step by step. The three of them immediately noticed that there was something wrong with Wang Lin's current state. They looked at each other and saw the decisiveness and viciousness in each other's eyes. I'm sorry, fellow Taoist Su. Compared to recommending you to the family, I still want the celestial spell from the 9th level, especially in your current state. If you were clear-headed, I might have hesitated. But now that you're in a trance, it's a great opportunity destined for me by the heavens. The old man named Chen's eyes revealed killing intent. The three of them no longer hesitated and rushed out. They each took out their most powerful treasures and used their most powerful spells to charge at Wang Lin. Chapter 784. The cultivator named Chun had a handful of silver needles in front of him. Each needle was covered in a blue glow. His hands formed a seal, and a giant shadow, surrounded by celestial spiritual energy, appeared around him. The shadow pointed at Wang Lin's back. The cultivator named Song had an yin-yang diagram in his hands. When he threw out, there was a crackling sound and dense origin energy that caused the yin-yang diagram to shoot toward Wang Lin like lightning. He was behind the diagram, and his right hand formed a strange seal. A long strand of hair appeared. The moment the hair appeared, it gave off a powerful pressure and released a large amount of green mist. The last one was the cultivator named Liu, who had lost his body. He opened his mouth and spat out a small crystal fan. He waved the fan and spat out a mouthful of essence origin energy. Purple flames surrounded the area and turned into 6 fire dragons. They roared and tried to surround Wang Lin to prevent him from escaping. The eyes of the three of them were bloodshot. They all had the thought of killing Wang Lin and obtaining the 9th level celestial spell. Their speed was extremely fast. Various spells and magic treasures closed in on Wang Lin. In an instant, they closed in on him. Wang Lin's eyes were still in a trance. His mind was still filled with the incredible changes of the celestial spell, Call the Wind. When the 3 spells and magic treasures closed in, he subconsciously raised his right hand and muttered, Call the Wind. After he said that, a black wind appeared in Wang Lin's right hand. The wind grew larger and began to howl. At this moment, the sky darkened as if the black wind had to retreat. The entire earth trembled and a powerful aura filled the world. All of this was because of this black wind, because of this celestial spell. It was as if the earth had a memory of this spell, as if the sky had once fallen under this spell. The moment the black wind appeared, the celestial emperor spell that hadn't appeared for countless years appeared. The moment the wind appeared, it charged toward the three people behind Wang Lin without any hesitation. The moment Cultivator Chen's silver needles touched the wind, they were unable to resist at all and immediately shattered. As for the illusory figure on his body, the moment the finger pressed down, the black wind blew by. It was like blowing out a candle flame, and the illusory figure immediately collapsed. So this is the 9th level celestial spell. The cultivator named Chen's eyes were filled with fear and his scalp went numb. To him, this black wind was like a cold wind that could take his life. His mind trembled, and he felt like he was facing the might of the heavens. He didn't hesitate to turn around and flee. He immediately teleported, but even though he was teleporting, when the black wind blew by, his body trembled and he reappeared. His eyes dimmed and his body collapsed. His origin soul was like a ball of fire that was extinguished by the black wind. All of this happened in an instant. Aside from the cultivator named Chun, the cultivator named Song's treasure also suffered the same fate. The yin-yang tattoo collapsed along with his body. When the black wind blew by, his eyes were filled with terror. He immediately abandoned his body and used his origin soul to escape. As for the cultivator named Lu who had lost his body, the fan in his hand also collapsed when the black wind blew by. He originally only had an origin soul, so he was scared out of his wits and quickly retreated. At this moment, the black wind suddenly disappeared as if it had never been there. Wang Lin's eyes were no longer in a trance and were filled with clarity. So this is the celestial spell, Call the Wind. He took a deep breath. His face was extremely pale as he took a step forward and slapped his bag of holding. The 1 billion soul flag appeared. It trembled and turned into a black fog that shot after the cultivator named Lu. As for himself, his eyes glowed with a cold light. He spat out a grain of sand, which transformed into a huge seal that shot toward Cultivator Song's nascent divinity. In the blink of an eye, the seal caught up and slammed into the ground. The cultivator named Song let out a miserable scream as his origin soul emitted a large amount of essence energy. He immediately withered and his eyes filled with fear. He was about to continue to escape when the karma whip appeared and wrapped around his origin soul. Wang Lin grabbed it. "Fellow Taoist Su, please have mercy. I was wrong. Ignoring the pleas of the cultivator named Song, Wang Lin's eyes flashed with coldness. He crushed the cultivator's origin soul, turning it into a mass of origin energy that Wang Lin swallowed. A huge amount of origin energy circulated through his body. Wang Lin's face was no longer as pale as before. He let out a deep breath, and his body flickered as he chased after the cultivator named Lu's origin soul that was trapped by the 1 billion soul flag. He made a grasping motion, and the karma whip flew out. It lashed out at the black fog created by the soul flag several times before finally absorbing the origin soul. Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he reached into the soul flag and pulled out the cultivator named Lu's origin soul. "If you kill me, the Lu clan will be your mortal enemy." The cultivator named Lu screamed, but his voice suddenly stopped. Wang Lin crushed the cultivator's origin soul, turning it into origin energy, and swallowed it. His face was slightly ruddy, but it was still pale. Without hesitation, he reached into the soul flag and took out the origin soul of the first black-robed man he killed. After crushing it, it turned into origin energy and was swallowed by Wang Lin. After swallowing 3 origin souls, Wang Lin sat down cross-legged and began to do breathing exercises. After a long time, his face gradually returned to normal. Even so, he was still a bit pale. Wang Lin opened his eyes and let out a breath of impure air. The breath he exhaled was actually black. It was extremely shocking. What a powerful celestial spell. I only gained a bit of enlightenment, but after using it, I was unable to control it. The amount of origin energy consumed by this celestial spell is too great. It almost completely absorbed all the G realm origin energy in my body. If I didn't quickly replenish it, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, No matter how you look at it, this spell doesn't look like a celestial spell. It wouldn't be wrong to call it a devil spell. Also, the amount of origin energy required by this spell is too great. If I want to use this spell, I need to have several illusory yin and corporeal yang origin souls. Wang Lin stood up and took the bags of holding of the people he killed. He looked back at the collection pavilion and muttered to himself, "Unfortunately, I can't take this pavilion away. Otherwise, with the power of the four great families, they would have already taken out the celestial realm. However, I'm not willing to just leave it here. If I could take it away." While pondering, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly lit up. He remembered the words he heard in the painting. Master Xiao Yao painted the collection pavilion for the first time. Wang Lin's eyes became brighter and brighter. He remembered the handprint of the boy under the tree in the painting. When I used this handprint before, I felt the pavilion tremble. Wang Lin's heart skipped a beat. His body flashed, and he immediately arrived outside the collection pavilion. He took a deep breath, formed a seal with both hands, and formed the handprint he learned from the boy. In an instant, the collection pavilion emitted bursts of light. Under Wang Lin's gaze, the pavilion became smaller and smaller until it was the size of his palm. When Wang Lin finished forming the handprint, it flew into his palm. Staring at the collection pavilion in his palm, with Wang Lin's willpower, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. His laughter was filled with joy. 9,400 words completed my promise, asking for monthly votes. Chapter 785. Since I become enemies with the four great families, I have to be even more vicious. Wang Lin's body moved, and he placed down all kinds of restrictions on the fragment. He did his best to place down restriction after restriction using the fragment as a foundation. This process lasted for nearly 10 days. Finally, Wang Lin charged out from the edge of the fragment where he first entered. The restrictions here only prevented people from entering from the outside. As for leaving, there was no problem. Half a month later, Wang Lin and Li Yuan flew through the void like two rays of light. Li Yuan's left hand was very sore, and a lot of the origin energy in his body had dissipated. He looked at Wang Lin and wryly smiled. "Brother Su, I placed no less than 10,000 restrictions on the edge of the fragment. The combination of these restrictions is very powerful. I fear that unless the powerful people of the four great families personally come, it'll be very difficult to break." Half a month ago, when Wang Lin came out, Li Yuan immediately appeared. Under Wang Lin's request, Li Yuan didn't use his family's annihilation restriction. Instead, he used other restrictions to completely seal the fragment the collection pavilion was on. "Brotherly, I've finished my business in the Thunder Celestial Realm, so it's best if I leave as soon as possible." Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and took out a thunder furnace. He had killed a lot of people, so he could easily get a thunder furnace from his bag of holding. Li Yuan obviously didn't want to leave right now and asked, "Brother Su, are you not going to take a look at the fragment with celestial spiritual energy fluctuations?" Wang Lin shook his head. He looked at the void and said, "I'm not going." The five-colored vortex appeared in his mind, and he had a bad feeling. Moreover, the excitement from obtaining the collection pavilion still hadn't dissipated. After obtaining such a treasure, his first thought was to leave as soon as possible. After all, this pavilion was very important to the four great families in terms of face and practical use. Once they found out, they would immediately launch a large-scale hunt for Wang Lin. However, the fragment was previously sealed, so it's not very likely for the outside world to know what happened here. He did not tell Li Yuan about the matter of obtaining the collection pavilion. After all, this matter was too important. With Wang Lin's cautiousness, he would not say it unless he was completely confident. Li Yuan pondered a bit and nodded. "That's fine, it's fine to leave. If you want to leave the Thunder Celestial Realm, you must go to a specific place. In the entire Thunder Celestial Realm, only by going to the gate to the Celestial Realm can you use the Thunder Furnace to return." Wang Lin nodded slightly. He had heard about this from Shan Gong a long time ago. The two of them made up their minds and quickly flew through the void. The gate to the Thunder Celestial Realm was far to the west. Wang Lin was still a long way from there. As the two of them flew, a shocking change occurred in the Thunder Celestial Realm. Among the many fragments of the Thunder Celestial Realm, there was a large amount of cultivators gathered on the 4 fragments where the powerful celestial spiritual energy fluctuations had appeared. Almost all the cultivators that came to the Thunder Celestial Realm had found out about the celestial spiritual energy fluctuations through their own methods and quickly arrived. As the celestial spiritual energy fluctuations spread out, ancient restrictions appeared on the 4 fragments. Some of these restrictions were in the mountains, and some appeared along with large amounts of ruins. The celestial spiritual energy was coming from the restrictions. As a result, as cultivators gathered, there would naturally be restriction masters. After the various powerhouses reached an agreement, the restriction masters would begin to break the restrictions one by one. The celestial spiritual energy fluctuations came from the 4 fragments in the east, west, south, and north directions. At this moment, on the western fragment, Shen Gonghu calmly looked at the plain in front of him. There was an ancient restriction on the plain, and it covered an area of 10,000 feet. Dense celestial spiritual energy fluctuations came from the restriction and spread into the distance. There was a large amount of cultivators gathered outside this restriction. They were often in groups of 3 to 5 and were staring at the restriction. There were also some restriction masters trying to break it. Shen Gonghu frowned. He clearly remembered that he had come here a few months ago. At that time, there were no restrictions here. So why had such a large restriction appeared in just a few short months? As he pondered, an inexplicable sense of crisis appeared in his heart. At this moment, rays of light flew across the sky, and more than 10 rays of sword energy flew toward this place. They turned into cultivators, and the one at the front was Zhang Konglai. He immediately saw Shen Gonghu, who was alone, and arrived before Shen Gonghu. He clasped his hands and smiled. Brother Shen Gong came so early. Shen Gonghu frowned slightly and calmly said, "You came late." Zhang Konglai faintly smiled and stood next to Shen Gonghu. His gaze fell on the restriction in the distance, and he asked, "Does Brother Shen Gong know who I met on the way here?" "I don't know." Shen Gonghu's expression was neutral, as if he wasn't interested in this at all. He only looked at the plain and pondered. Zhang Konglai already knew Shen Gonghu's temperament and said, "It was Senior." Shen Gonghu's eyes lit up. He turned to look at Zhang Konglai and asked, "Is that true?" Zhang Konglai smiled. "It's absolutely true." Senior said that if he had time, he would come here. There was a flash of joy in Shen Gonghu's eyes. He looked at Zhang Konglai, a lot more pleasing to the eye. He smiled and said, "With Lord's temperament, I'm afraid he would be interested in the strangeness of this place." Zhang Konglai looked at the plain before him and nodded. "I presume Brother Shen Gong has also noticed that the formation here is too strange." Before he finished speaking, the formation on the plain in front of him shined brightly. The fluctuations of the formation spread out, and cries of surprise came from the cultivators around the formation. Shortly after, a few people who were familiar with restrictions flew out and placed their own seals on the formation to speed up the process of breaking it. There were many experts outside the formation, and most of them were from families. They were scattered and didn't come into contact with each other. They had a tacit understanding and didn't fight each other while breaking the formation. As more and more formations were broken, the northern fragment was the first to have its restriction broken. A curved passage appeared before the cultivators of the northern fragment, and a cultivator charged in first. The passage was very long, and after that cultivator, the others also entered. Several hours later, the miserable screams of the cultivator that charged in first echoed through the passage. At the same time, a ray of red light appeared in the passage. The entire passage collapsed and dissipated. This strange scene shocked all the cultivators inside the passage, and they quickly escaped. However, under the red light, they all died miserably. Only a few cultivators survived this upheaval. At the same time, the restrictions on the eastern fragment were opened as well. As a high number of cultivators entered the passageway, the same thing happened again. When the first cultivator to reach the end saw a 5-colored vortex, he blew himself up, causing the entire passageway to be filled with red light. This series of changes hadn't ended, and a tragedy occurred once more on the southern fragment. At this moment, the Thunder Celestial Realm was covered in blood. Just at this moment, a large amount of fluctuations came from the formation on the western fragment where Shingong, Hu, and Zhangkong Lai were. As the fluctuations became more and more intense, the cultivators that were breaking the restriction all began to use their own methods. A moment later, the fluctuations turned into countless shockwaves that spread in all directions. The formation was broken. A dark hole appeared on the ground, and dense, celestial spiritual energy came out, forming a pillar of light that shot into the sky. Some cultivators couldn't hold it in any longer and charged out. They ignored the burning celestial spiritual energy and directly entered the hole. With someone taking the lead, the other cultivators all charged in. Shingong, who didn't move, and Zhang Konglai also didn't move. The two of them looked at each other and saw the deep doubt in each other's eyes. This formation is a bit too easy to break. Aside from the two of them, there were some other cultivators that didn't act rashly. Most of them had broken through the peak of the late stage of Ascendant and were at the illusory stage. After a long time, as more and more cultivators entered the tunnel, a muffled sound suddenly rang out, followed by screams of pain. The ground trembled, and in an instant, the tunnel collapsed along with the cultivators inside. They disappeared. The expressions of Shangong, Hu, and company changed greatly. They flew into the air, and their eyes were filled with shock. At this moment, all the restrictions on the 4 fragments had been broken, and the passages collapsed one by one. An unimaginable amount of celestial spiritual energy suddenly spread out from the Thunder Celestial Realm. At the same time, there were 9 fragments in the Thunder Celestial Realm that trembled violently. 9 different runes appeared out of nowhere on the fragments. These marks were deeply engraved in the earth and gave off a powerful red glow. This sudden change caused all the cultivators in the Thunder Celestial Realm to feel a sense of fear that came from their souls. One of the 9 fragments collapsed. This wasn't due to a power beyond the Nirvana Scryer stage, but a powerful aura beyond the Nirvana Scryer stage erupted from within. Under the impact of this aura, the fragments collapsed layer by layer. A terrifying aura charged out from the center of the fragment. The escaping cultivators were horrified to find that the aura that charged out was a severed arm. This severed arm was obviously sealed here countless years ago. Now that the 9 seals had been broken, the severed arm regained its freedom. It flew directly toward the center of the Thunder Celestial Realm. The moment the severed arm appeared, 7 of the remaining 8 fragments collapsed. In the end, 2 severed arms, 2 severed legs, a head with only a left eye, and a torso that was divided into 3 parts flew toward the center of the Thunder Celestial Realm. The head had a grin on its face. As it flew out, it would devour any cultivator it encountered. The cultivator's body would immediately collapse, and their origin soul would be devoured by the head. This caused the head's left eye to become brighter and brighter. They were extremely fast, far faster than cultivators. It was as if they were teleporting and left after images in the void. Wang Lin and Li Yuan turned into rays of light and flew toward the west. As they flew, a gloomy aura spread out. This aura was very dense, like an invisible fog that spread out from the distance. Li Yuan's expression changed slightly. Just as he was about to spread out his divine sense to check, a ray of red light suddenly appeared in the distance. This red light was very dense and rushed toward them like crazy. Li Yuan gasped. He clearly saw that there was a severed arm inside the red light. Chapter 786. Wang Lin grabbed Li Yuan and pulled him back. His eyes were like lightning as he stared at the red light in front of him. The severed arm within the red glow was completely red, and its 5 fingers were withered and withered. However, just looking at it would cause a chill to rise up from the bottom of one's heart. That was especially true of the sharp fingernails, which seemed capable of ripping apart the air as they shot out. When Wang Lin's gaze fell on the arm, it seemed to have a mind of its own. It sensed Wang Lin and changed direction to charge at Wang Lin. When it was still a distance away, it slashed through the air. Immediately, A loud rumbling sound echoed out as 5 long cracks appeared in the air and shot toward Wang Lin. It was as if 5 cracks had suddenly appeared on a piece of white paper, and its target was Wang Lin. It was as if it touched Wang Lin's body and origin soul, they would be torn to shreds just like the piece of paper. Wang Lin's pupils shrank, and he immediately retreated. His right hand formed a seal, and his origin soul began to move. A bolt of purple lightning shot out toward the arm. The arm didn't even try to dodge. It grabbed the purple lightning and crushed it. The purple lightning, which contained Wang Lin's origin energy, collapsed and was absorbed by the arm. This scene caused Wang Lin to frown. He let out a cold snort and spat out a grain of sand. The sand turned into a fragment stamp, and with a point of Wang Lin's finger, the fragment stamp smashed toward the arm that was charging at Wang Lin. The fragment seal landed with a bang. However, the moment it landed, the arm suddenly flashed with a bright red light. The light flashed and caused the fragment seal to miss. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy, and he retreated once more. At this moment, the arm closed in and reached out. 5 cracks appeared before Wang Lin, wanting to tear his body apart. The smell of blood coming from the severed arm seemed to contain a powerful poison. Wang Lin immediately felt his body being corroded by the smell and felt a burning sensation. He retreated once more, and his heart was filled with shock. The sudden appearance of the arm was too strange. This was the most dangerous battle Wang Lin had fought since he reached the corporeal Yang realm. The 5 cracks created a cold wind that caused Wang Lin's origin soul to freeze. Seeing the 5 cracks closing in, Wang Lin's third eye opened angrily without any hesitation. There was a flash of red light that formed a fan and surrounded the 5 cracks. In Wang Lin's eyes, the cracks seemed to return to their origin and quickly dissipated. In the end, they turned into 5 drops of dark red blood. In an instant, Wang Lin's right hand pointed forward and he shouted, "Stop!" At the same time, the beast bone tattoo on the back of his right hand moved and appeared as if it was surrounding Wang Lin's right hand. The black holes in the beast bone's eyes released a ghostly light. Killing intent immediately gathered and descended upon the world. This killing intent was monstrous. The beast bone's eyes lit up and the 5 drops of blood turned gray. It was as if there was a gray mist surrounding them. It gave off a different kind of beauty. In an instant, 3 of the 5 drops of blood turned to stone, and the other 2 quickly retreated back into the arm. The arm paused for a moment before changing directions. It no longer attacked Wang Lin and quickly left. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he looked at the 3 drops of blood that had turned to stone. He grabbed them and put them away in his bag of holding. Then he slapped his bag of holding, and the celestial sword appeared in his hand. There was a flash of coldness in his eyes as he quickly chased after the arm. This arm was too strange. The moment Wang Lin saw the arm, he couldn't help but think of the eyeball in the 5-color vortex. From Wang Lin's point of view, they seem to have the same origin. This arm is very strong, equal to a peak corporeal yang cultivator and infinitely close to a nirvana scryer cultivator. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. As he chased after the arm, he mercilessly chopped down with the celestial sword in his right hand. The heavenly chop instantly created a sword shadow. When it chopped down, it was as if it had cut open the laws of the world. The void trembled and a long crack appeared. The 2 sides of the crack split open and charged at the arm. The severed arm suddenly stopped, formed a seal, and pressed back. Popping sounds came from the void. Everything within 1,000 feet of the severed arm collapsed, as if it had been hit by a powerful force. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes, and the fragment stamp flew out once more. This time it was too fast and smashed into the arm. The arm immediately trembled and gave off a bright red light, as if it was injured. It escaped even faster. Just at this moment, there was a team of 7 or 8 people from a cultivation family. Their faces were filled with shock. Their cultivation levels weren't high. They were around the mid or late stage of ascendant. They quickly flew over as if there was a powerful enemy chasing them. The severed arm immediately turned around and charged toward the cultivator family. It was too fast, and in the blink of an eye, it closed in. Miserable screams rang out as the severed arm tore through the cultivator's body and grabbed their origin souls. After crushing them, it immediately absorbed their origin energy. After several breaths of time, all the members of the cultivation family were dead. Their origin souls were absorbed by the arm, and the red light from the arm became even stronger. Not only did the injury on the arm recover, but it also improved. When Wang Lin saw this, his expression became even more gloomy. His eyes lit up, and he saw another ray of red light closing in from the distance. There was a broken leg inside the red light. Without hesitation, Wang Lin turned around and left. The arm seemed to hesitate for a moment and didn't chase. It flew off into the distance with the broken leg and disappeared into the void. Even after it left, there was still a thick smell of blood that lingered for a long time. The entire Thunder Celestial Realm was in chaos. The 8 broken limbs that suddenly appeared were all at the peak of the corporeal yang stage. No spells would have any effect on them, and would instead be crushed to extract their origin energy. Only magical treasures could be of some use, but they were not very useful. In addition, the blood-red light was filled with scorching toxins, causing the severed limbs to go on a rampage. They didn't stop and moved very fast. Not long after, 8 rays of red light arrived at the center of the Thunder Celestial Realm and fused together. Then a roar that seemed to come from ancient times echoed across the Celestial Realm. The severed limbs fused together, forming a complete body. This person had a head of white hair, and his face was filled with hideous scars. His entire body was damaged, and he was missing his right eye. Only his left eye remained, and it gave off a dense, cold light. Celestial Lord Shimizu, no matter how strong your seal is, it can't offset the passage of time. You wouldn't dare to kill me, or else why would you place a healing formation around the seal vortex? However, I have to thank you. If it wasn't for the seal vortex, I fear I wouldn't have survived the collapse of the celestial realm. Shimizu, since I didn't die, you naturally won't die either. Unless you find another seal left by the ancient celestial realm, I want to see how you can seal me again. The white-haired man's expression was ferocious as he laughed wildly and charged into the void. He was too fast and had a great understanding of the Thunder Celestial Realm. As he moved through the void, he arrived on a fragment. This fragment was the location of the passage that Wang Lin and Li Yuan saw when they opened the seal. The man waved his hand, causing the entire fragment to collapse. This was the location of the 9th seal. As the fragment collapsed, a monstrous, fierce aura rushed out. There was a flash of red light, and an eyeball flew out. This person grabbed it and placed it inside the hole in his right eye. The G realm was sealed in my right eye, and I consumed too much during the Celestial Realm War. It is too difficult to replenish it, but it is not impossible. However, I have just escaped and only have 10% of my cultivation left. I need to recover my celestial origin as soon as possible. There was a flash of red in this person's eyes, and he revealed a grim sneer. After so many years, a lot of juniors have appeared. Very good, I'll devour them all. Although I won't be able to fully recover my cultivation, I'll be able to recover a bit. However, before I devour them, I need to close the gate to the celestial realm so they can't escape. The person grinned as his body flickered and disappeared into the void. Wang Lin took Li Yuan, and the two of them moved at full speed toward the gate to the far west celestial realm. The two of them were silent along the way and didn't speak to each other. Wang Lin's expression was extremely gloomy. He had a premonition that the Thunder Celestial Realm was going to be in chaos. We must leave this place as soon as possible. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he took Li Yuan with him as they moved even faster. Along the way, the two of them saw many cultivators. All of them had the same goal, the gate to the celestial realm. It was obvious that many of them had the same idea as Wang Lin and were ready to leave this place. In the void, rays of light shot toward the west like meteors. No one had time to talk to each other. They were all moving at full speed. They gradually got closer and closer to the gate to the celestial realm. In the distance, They could vaguely see the giant bolt of red lightning descending from the sky. At this moment, the surrounding cultivators all began to teleport. They wanted to leave even faster. However, just at this moment, a red mist rushed in like crazy from the distance, and a hoarse voice echoed across the world. No one can leave. A person walked out from the red fog. He had a head full of white hair and was as thin as a skeleton. His eyes were bloodshot, and as he stepped out, he reached out with his right hand. Immediately, an unimaginably large amount of celestial spiritual energy raged in the air. The ascendant cultivators in front of him were filled with terror. Their bodies immediately collapsed into pieces of flesh and blood that were sucked into this person's mouth. Even the origin souls of these cultivators couldn't escape and were all devoured by this person. Why do the cultivators nowadays have so little origin energy? After converting it into celestial origin energy, there's not much left. The white-haired person frowned as he charged toward the gate to the celestial realm. Chapter 787. This scene caused the expressions of all the cultivators in the distance to change greatly. The moment the white-haired man appeared, he killed more than a dozen cultivators and devoured their flesh and origin souls. This shocking scene caused everyone to suck in a breath of cold air. Seeing the white-haired man charge toward the celestial gate, none of the surrounding cultivators dared to stop him. Just at this moment, one of the cultivators closest to the celestial gate flew out. This person was middle-aged, wore a golden robe, and his eyes were like lightning. His cultivation level was above ascendant and was at the illusory stage. At this moment, he slapped his bag of holding, and Shursan's flying swords immediately flew out. With a point of his finger, the sword shot toward the white-haired man. Fellow cultivators, attack. Don't let this person block the gate, or none of us will be able to leave. Behind the middle-aged man, several cultivators clenched their teeth and charged out with magical treasures in hand. The white-haired man let out a cackle. His body moved, and he merged with the world. In an instant, he disappeared without a trace. When he reappeared, he was next to the celestial gate, next to the giant red lightning bolt that descended from the sky. The moment he reappeared, his right hand formed a seal and slapped the lightning bolt. A thunderous rumble echoed across the world. Celestial Thunder Gate, close. A hoarse voice blew into the ears of all the surrounding cultivators like a cold wind. The giant red lightning bolt began to shrink at a speed visible to the naked eye. Just at this moment, the surrounding cultivators reacted. They all took out magical treasures and charged at the white-haired man. Among them, there were less than 10 illusory cultivators. They were the main force, and they charged at the white-haired man with a powerful aura. The gate to the Celestial Thunder Gate is about to close. All of you will become my food. The white-haired man's eyes were gloomy. He didn't even look at the cultivators that were attacking him. His body moved at an unimaginable speed, and when he reappeared, he was already behind an ascendant cultivator. The ascendant's cultivator was an old man. At this moment, his expression changed greatly, and fear appeared in his eyes. However, before he could turn around, the white-haired strange man's right claw pierced through the old man's chest, grabbed the origin soul that couldn't escape, and crushed it. The old man even heard the sound of his chest shattering and his origin soul collapsing. His vision darkened, and he lost all signs of life. His entire body and origin soul were devoured by the white-haired man. Your origin energy is too weak. The strange white-haired man's body flickered again, and he disappeared without a trace. The next time he appeared, he was in front of the golden-robed man who had attacked first. The golden-robed man's face paled, and he retreated without hesitation. However, it was too late. With a strange laugh, the white-haired man charged forward, turning into a bloody shadow that charged into the golden-robed man's body. Popping sounds echoed, and a large amount of blood mist sprayed out of the golden-robed man's body. His body instantly collapsed. The white-haired man materialized in the flesh and blood, swallowing the golden-robed man's essence soul in one gulp. His eyes lit up, and he smiled. Not bad. This is how a cultivator should be. He licked his lips and disappeared once more. There were only 100 cultivators around, but there were even more cultivators coming from the distance. It was obvious they were preparing to leave this place. As the number of cultivators increased, the strange man was like a fish in water. He was too fast, but his attacks were ruthless. He could often kill a person in the blink of an eye. If this continued, it would be impossible for the surrounding cultivators to work together. A sense of fear gradually filled the air. The gate to the celestial realm was rapidly shrinking and was about to disappear. This feeling of fear became even stronger. It was unknown who took the lead, but the surrounding cultivators gave up on besieging the strange man and charged toward the rapidly disappearing gate. The white-haired man revealed a grim smile. After devouring a few more cultivators, his hands formed a seal, and he shouted, "Celestial spell incarnation." In an instant, the white-haired man's body split into two, and then four split from two. This cycle continued, and in the blink of an eye, there were 32 avatars. These 32 avatars rushed out and immediately merged with the world. When they reappeared, they were within 10,000 feet of the celestial realm gate. Miserable screams echoed. All the cultivators that entered the 10,000 feet range had their bodies collapse and origin souls devoured by the avatars. Their resistance did not have much effect on the doppelgangers. Most of the time, they died before they could even make a move. Nevertheless, there were still more cultivators that charged into the 10,000 feet range toward the celestial realm gate. After all, this gate was the only way to survive. Interesting. I'd like to see if any of you juniors will be able to escape in the end. The white-haired man laughed. His body flashed, and he appeared behind illusory cultivator once more. The illusory cultivator's eyes became cold, and he didn't hesitate to explode his origin soul. His origin soul collapsed along with his body. Since he couldn't escape, death was inevitable. However, even if he died, he still had a choice, and that was to die with dignity. That was self-destruction. As the thunderous rumbles echoed, the white-haired man frowned. He didn't retreat, but inhaled and sucked in all the origin energy around him. What a courageous chi practitioner. It was a massacre. When the celestial realm gate closed and disappeared, the battle reached its peak. Cultivators kept coming and madly charged into the celestial realm gate in an attempt to escape. After all, the celestial realm gate was their only hope. However, there were 32 avatars of the white-haired man within the 10,000 feet range. Aside from the illusory cultivators that could charge into the 1,000 feet range, all the other cultivators died outside the 1,000 feet range. As for the illusory cultivators that charged into the 1,000 feet range, their fates were the same. When the white-haired man's true body appeared, they all died. Bursts of gloomy laughter came from the white-haired man's mouth. As he continued to slaughter and devour, his originally skinny body gradually expanded. It was as if there was something moving inside his body, making him look even more terrifying. The aura coming from his body became stronger and stronger. Every time he devoured a cultivator, he would become a bit stronger. The red glow in his eyes became even stronger. The smell of blood filled the area, and despair appeared in the eyes of most cultivators. The red lightning formed by the celestial realm gate was on the verge of completely dissipating. It seemed like it wouldn't be long before it disappeared. Once the lightning disappeared, the thunder celestial realm would be completely sealed. Just at this moment, more than 10 rays of sword energy flew over from the distance. These rays of sword energy were filled with origin energy, and they whistled through the air. Jean Cogna's eyes became cold as he charged out. The more than 10 people behind him were all illusory cultivators, and they all charged at the white-haired man. At the same time, a few rays of light flew over from another direction. The person in the lead was Tang Yanfeng. His expression was gloomy. Behind him were people from the Tang family, as well as cultivators from other families. Although there weren't many people, they were all at the illusory realm. These two groups of people were extremely fast as they charged at the white-haired man. Before they even arrived, various origin energy spells and magical treasures shot out like a flood. The group led by Tang Yinfeng and Zhang Konglai didn't hesitate to attack. The white-haired man's eyes revealed a red glow, and he grinned as he stepped forward. He didn't care about the spells and treasures at all. His body flickered, and he appeared among Tang Yinfeng's group. His right hand reached out and grabbed one of the people in his hand. That cultivator revealed a decisive gaze, and his body exploded into a large ripple. The white-haired man let out a cold snort and was about to open his mouth to inhale when a ray of sword energy shot out from a distance. The sword energy was filled with the might of thunder. It was Shengong Hu. Trap him to death. Tang Yinfeng let out a roar and retreated. When the cultivators of his family heard this, they immediately used their full power to trap the white-haired man. At the same time, Zhang Konglai rushed out with a bronze furnace in his hand. He was filled with killing intent as he charged the white-haired man. Tang Yinfeng gave up on his personal grudge with Shengong Hu. He waved his sleeves, and a white fog appeared. His eyes lit up, and he charged in. Shengong Hu and Zhang Konglai didn't hesitate to charge into the fog. The three corporeal yang cultivators attacked the white-haired man at the same time. The dozen or so illusory yin cultivators didn't retreat. They all used their spells and magical treasures to besiege the white-haired man. Although there weren't many corporeal yang cultivators, Shengong Hu and company weren't the only ones. There were two more corporeal yang cultivators. They didn't hesitate to charge into the white fog and use their most powerful origin energy spells. With someone taking the lead, all the surrounding cultivators became spirited and were about to attack together. However, just at this moment, the white-haired man's 32 avatars charged out and began to slaughter the cultivators. There were some cultivators who wanted to protect themselves and wanted to take this opportunity to charge into the celestial realm. There were a lot of people who wanted to do this, but they were killed by the white-haired man's avatars the moment they got within 10,000 feet of the gate. Despite this, there were still more cultivators trying to charge into the celestial realm. As more and more cultivators arrived, this phenomenon reached a peak. The moment the white-haired man appeared, Wang Lin grabbed Li Yuan and quickly retreated. He retreated more than 500 meters and looked at the miserable screams of the cultivators before their deaths. Wang Lin's expression was extremely gloomy. Wang Lin also saw Shengong Hu and company appear. After hesitating for a bit, Wang Lin looked at Li Yuan, but didn't attack. Li Yuan's face was pale. "Brother Su, I'm afraid we won't be able to leave," Wang Lin silently pondered. The white-haired man was too strong. Wang Lin secretly compared him to the blood ancestor and determined that this person's cultivation level was even higher than the blood ancestors. However, this wasn't the main point. The main point was that every time the white-haired man devoured a cultivator, his cultivation level would increase. As a result, Wang Lin couldn't calculate how high this person's cultivation level would increase. Wang Lin looked at Li Yuan and suddenly asked, "Brotherly, do you trust me?" Li Yuan was startled and nodded. "Does Brother Su have a way to leave?" "I naturally trust Brother Su." Wang Lin hesitated for a bit before slowly saying, "I do have a spell, but I haven't completely mastered it yet. If I take another person, I won't be affected, but the person I take with me might be affected. If you agree, I can give it a try." Li Yuan silently pondered. He had seen how powerful the white-haired man was and knew that he couldn't fight back at all. Even if Su Mu was by his side, he wouldn't be able to protect himself from the white-haired man's attacks, let alone protect himself. Li Yuan had a premonition that if he stayed here, he would without a doubt die. This feeling was extremely strong, and at this moment, it occupied almost all of his mind. Li Yuan's eyes lit up, and he revealed a decisive expression as he said, "Brother Su, please use your spell. I, Li Yuan, am willing to gamble." Wang Lin nodded. He and Li Yuan had met in the Thunder Celestial Realm, and many things had happened between them. Although their friendship wasn't perfect, they had gone through thick and thin together. If it wasn't for Li Yuan, Wang Lin believed that he would without a doubt die under the pursuit of the blood ancestor. In this respect, Li Yuan had saved his life. After taking a deep breath, Wang Lin slowly retreated and his mind spread out. He recalled the feeling of merging with the world. Every step he took caused ripples to appear under his feet. After retreating dozens of steps, the feeling of merging with the world didn't appear. The celestial gate in the distance had shrunk to its limit, as if it could disappear at any moment. The miserable screams of the cultivators before them echoed in his ears. Wang Lin suppressed the anxiety in his heart and calmed his heart. He didn't think about anything else but did his best to calm himself down, calm down. In the end, as Wang Lin retreated step by step, his eyes revealed a calm gaze. At this moment, he seemed to have merged with the world around him, becoming closer and closer. After an unknown amount of time, the inseparable feeling of merging with the world appeared in Wang Lin's heart once more. At this moment, he had the illusion that he had become the world and the world. His eyes narrowed and were as calm as water. Wang Lin's feet no longer retreated, but moved forward. One step at a time, he was extremely calm. Ripples appeared under his feet once more and slowly spread out. Wang Lin's body seemed to have merged with the void. As he stepped forward, he grabbed Li Yuan, who was sitting on the wooden stool. Li Yuan felt a powerful force enter his body from Wang Lin's hand. It was as if his entire body was being swept up by a storm. In an instant, his vision blurred and he couldn't see anything clearly. It was as if his entire body had merged with time and his body was being stretched infinitely. Holding Li Yuan's arm, Wang Lin's eyes were still as calm as water. As he stepped forward, his body disappeared along with Li Yuan and truly merged with the void. At this moment, the white-haired man, who was surrounded by the white fog, was being attacked by 5 corporeal yang cultivators, more than a dozen illusory yin cultivators, and a large amount of ascended cultivators. His hands formed a seal, and he muttered something. A red light curtain appeared around his body. All origin energy spells and treasures were useless against this light curtain. They couldn't break it at all. Shun Gong, whose flying sword, which was covered in dense thunder, landed on the light curtain. The flying sword trembled and collapsed inch by inch. The powerful rebound force caused Shun Gong, who to cough out a mouthful of blood and be knocked back. Not only him, but Zhang Konglai, Tang Yinfeng, and the other 2 corporeal yang cultivators were all the same. They all coughed out blood and were knocked back. As for the illusory yin cultivators, even their origin souls trembled. It was as if their bodies had been thrown by a powerful force, and they were pushed back like crazy. The white-haired man revealed a bloodthirsty grin and said in a hoarse voice, "Yes, this is what it looks like to fight. However, you juniors are far too weak compared to the army of the immortal world in the past. Far too weak, far too weak. You don't even have the qualifications to make this lord use the G realm." As he spoke, he pushed his hands in all directions. Immediately, the light curtain around his body rapidly expanded. It was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, the white fog that permeated the surroundings was pushed out. The surrounding cultivators could not help but quickly retreat. Some of the slower ones let out miserable screams when they touched the light screen. Their bodies rapidly withered and turned into dried corpses. Even their origin souls collapsed and turned into origin energy that was absorbed by the light screen. From the outside, one could see cultivators rushing out from the white fog with terror in their eyes. It was as if they were afraid they were too slow. As the white-haired man laughed, his figure flickered and he appeared behind an illusory yin cultivator. He crushed the cultivator's body and was about to devour the cultivator's origin soul when he suddenly turned around. For the first time, his eyes were filled with shock. Tao fuses with the world. The moment he turned around, the origin soul of the cultivator who had lost his body exploded. However, at this moment, the white-haired man didn't care at all. His body flickered and he fused with the world. With one step, ripples appeared under his feet and he disappeared. Even in the celestial realm, there aren't many people who can fuse their Tao with the world. However, this person hasn't completely mastered it. The old man appeared 1,000 feet away from the celestial gate. His eyes revealed a strange light, and his right hand mercilessly reached at the void. "Come out for this, Lord." 5 giant cracks instantly appeared in the world. These cracks were extremely deep and gave off a sharp whistling sound. It was as if 5 cracks had been torn open in the world. A force that was clearly different from celestial spiritual energy and origin energy erupted from the white-haired man's body and rushed into the world through the cracks. At this instant, all the surrounding cultivators felt like the world was collapsing. It was as if the world was shaking violently. Shingon, whose face was pale. Beside him, Jean Collia's expression was also gloomy. As for Tang Yinfeng, he clenched his fists. The 3 of them looked at each other and saw the deep, hidden terror in each other's eyes. A soft, muffled groan came from the void before the white-haired old man. Shortly after, Wang Lin's figure appeared 500 feet away from the celestial gate. His right hand was still holding Li Yuan. At this moment, Li Yuan was bleeding from his orifices and his eyes were dim and filled with confusion. The moment he appeared, Li Yuan coughed out a large amount of blood mist. It was obvious that he couldn't withstand Wang Lin's spell. The moment Wang Lin appeared, he didn't hesitate to throw Li Yuan forward. A large amount of origin energy filled Li Yuan's body, causing him to move like lightning toward the fist-sized celestial gate that was about to dissipate. The white-haired old man sneered as he took a step and immediately disappeared. The moment he disappeared, there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. Without hesitation, all the origin energy in his body erupted and formed a vortex around him. His origin soul released the might of thunder, and countless bolts of thunder rushed out from his body and entered the vortex. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to shout the moment the old man disappeared, "Explode!" Loud rumbles erupted in the air. The sound was too shocking, and it instantly caused all the cultivators in the area to suck in sharp breaths. Shengong, whose eyes narrowed as he stared at Wang Lin. His eyes were filled with joy. Not only him, but Zhang Konglai was the same. "It's him." Tang Yinfeng frowned. He recognized that Wang Lin was Su Mu, who he had no confidence in winning against. The moment the vortex around Wang Lin collapsed, the white-haired man appeared before him, but he was immediately affected by the collapse. The white-haired man's eyes revealed a strange light as he laughed and inhaled. The collapsed vortex was immediately sucked into his mouth. Wang Lin quickly retreated and caught up to Li Yuan. He pushed Li Yuan's body and shouted, "Li Yuan, why haven't you opened the thunder furnace yet?" The voice was like thunder, rushing into Li Yuan's mind. Confused, he subconsciously took out the lightning cauldron. The instant he did, he slammed into the door of the celestial world, which had now shrunk to the size of a fist. A ray of light came from the thunder furnace and wrapped around Li Yuan's body before he disappeared. At the same time, Wang Lin also took out the thunder furnace and was about to leave. At this moment, the white-haired man's eyes lit up and he softly said, "Close the gate." After he spoke, the celestial gate that had shrunk to the size of a fist immediately collapsed and disappeared. Wang Lin held the thunder furnace, and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. He didn't even look back as he quickly teleported into the void. The old man laughed evilly, then took a step forward and chased after him. "I remember now. You're that cautious cultivator." The white-haired man was too fast and caught up to Wang Lin in one step. His hand mercilessly grabbed Wang Lin's back. "I don't like cautious people. Even the G realm can't kill you. I want to see how you will escape this time." The white-haired man's eyes revealed a red light. When his right hand reached out, there was a sharp whistling sound. In an instant, he sealed off all of Wang Lin's escape routes. Shengong, whose eyes widened and were filled with anticipation. "My lord, attack." Zhang Konglai was also on guard and thought, "This strange person is too strong. I just don't know who is stronger between the two of them." As for Tang Yinfeng, he sneered in his heart as he stared at Wang Lin. He mocked in his heart, "Although this person is strong, the 5 of us and many illusory Yin cultivators were no match for that strange person. With his corporeal yang cultivation, he will without a doubt die. I want to see how he will be killed. This will save me a lot of trouble later." The erotic plot wasn't easy to write. Begging for the monthly votes would give Jin more motivation to write this series of erotic plots better. Asking for monthly votes. Also, readers who are reading on their mobile phones, please send flowers to the Renegade Celestial Immortal so that the Renegade Celestial Immortal can go one step further on the mobile reading platform. Thank you all. Chapter 789. At this moment, everyone's attention was on Wang Lin. Not only Shen Gonghu, Zhang Konglai, Tang Yanfeng, and the other 2 corporeal yang cultivators, but all the cultivators from the 4 domains of the Luo Tian star system had their gazes on Wang Lin. All of this was because Wang Lin had appeared 500 feet away from the Celestial Realm Gate. Most importantly, Wang Lin had successfully sent Li Yuan into the Celestial Realm Gate, becoming the first and only cultivator to leave the Thunder Celestial Realm. All of this caused Wang Lin to become the focus of all the cultivators' gazes in an instant. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. He immediately noticed that all his paths of retreat had been sealed by the white-haired man chasing after him. This seal made it so that his eyes couldn't see, but his divine sense felt like his body was surrounded by sharp blades. No matter where he went, he would collide with the blades. In fact, he couldn't even teleport. He was completely trapped on the spot. The white-haired man grinned, and his right hand formed claw. He instantly caught up to Wang Lin and mercilessly clawed at Wang Lin's back. 5 spatial rifts shot toward Wang Lin with a sharp whistling sound. All the hair on Wang Lin's body stood up. At this moment of crisis, he didn't hesitate to point forward and quickly shouted, "Wind!" In an instant, a black wind appeared above Wang Lin's right hand. In an instant, it became larger and filled the world as if it had replaced everything in the world. After the black wind appeared, it immediately swept by. At this moment, Wang Lin suddenly turned around inside the black wind. His eyes gave off a ghostly glow and his hair fluttered in the wind. He didn't look like a celestial, but more like a devil. His gaze was like a sword as it landed on the white-haired man. Just at this instant, the black wind howled and formed a black dragon around Wang Lin. This dragon's body was a bit illusory and unstable, but after it appeared, it opened its mouth at the white-haired man and spat out a gust of wind. This wind could extinguish the fire of 10,000 spirits. The white-haired man's body trembled, and his eyes revealed a strange light as he stared at Wang Lin inside the black wind. He slowly said, "This is called the wind." "That's right, it's called the wind. What is your relationship with Celestial Emperor Bai Fan?" Wang Lin didn't reply, but his hands formed a seal and the origin energy in his body surged. The black wind charged at the white-haired man. The 5 spatial rifts trembled and slowed down when they were hit by the black wind. At the same time, the wind from the black dragon's mouth closed in on the white-haired man. For the first time, the white-haired man revealed a serious expression as he stared at the black dragon formed by the black wind. His hands formed a seal and pushed to the side as he shouted, "Crack the earth!" A sharp tearing sound echoed. At the same time, a giant crack suddenly appeared before the white-haired man and charged at Wang Lin. This crack was very deep and looked like a dragon that wanted to charge out from the void. It charged at Wang Lin and collided with the black dragon formed by the black wind around Wang Lin. A thunderous rumble echoed across the world. All the black wind around Wang Lin charged out and collided with the giant rift, creating a powerful impact. His body was like a kite with a broken string as he quickly retreated. At this moment, the white-haired man charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin revealed a decisive gaze and pointed to the side without any hesitation. A bolt of red lightning flew out from his hand and into the void. The black wind dissipated. At this moment, the huge crack seemed to have been pinched by an invisible hand. It could no longer move forward. Then it collapsed and disintegrated. The white-haired man was about to continue chasing when his eyes narrowed. He stared at the red lightning that Wang Lin had thrown out. His body flickered, and he caught up to the lightning in the blink of an eye. He grabbed it and pressed it against his right eye. He was too fast. After retrieving the red lightning, he took a step and merged with the world. When he reappeared, he was behind the rapidly retreating Wang Lin. The moment his body appeared, Wang Lin opened his mouth and spat out a grain of sand. This grain of sand immediately grew until it became a fragment stamp. With a point of Wang Lin's finger, it mercilessly smashed toward the white-haired man. The white-haired man's eyes lit up, and his right hand reached out toward the fragment stamp. The fragment stamp rumbled but was unable to descend. At the same time, Wang Lin's right hand formed a seal and pressed forward. The beast bone tattoo on the back of his hand moved and turned into the beast bone with 4 spikes. 2 ghostly lights flashed, and killing intent erupted toward the white-haired man. The unfettered child's withered Tao pair. The white-haired man's eyes were filled with disbelief. The beast bone's eyes shined, and the killing intent was dense. A gray color appeared under the white-haired man's feet and quickly spread to his entire body. The white-haired man let out a grim smile and took a step forward. Popping sounds came from his body, and the gray color around him collapsed. "You're an interesting cultivator." The white-haired man's eyes were filled with bloodlust as he turned into a blur and charged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to turn around and retreat. At the same time, he slapped his bag of holding, and the celestial sword appeared in his hand. He raised it and mercilessly slashed behind him. The heavenly chop instantly appeared. It was as if the void around him had disappeared, leaving only a ray of sword energy. With one slash, the void behind Wang Lin was split open. The white-haired old man's body appeared, and his expression changed once more. "This is the Rain Celestial Sword's sword skill." The white-haired man frowned, and his right hand reached out. There was a loud bang, and the heavenly chop collapsed. Wang Lin's expression was extremely gloomy. The moment the heavenly chop collapsed, he retreated once more. The white-haired man sneered and took a step forward. He appeared behind Wang Lin and reached out with his claw. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with killing intent. He slapped his bag of holding, and the half-blood body appeared in his hand. He inhaled, and a large amount of origin energy rushed into his body. Without hesitation, origin energy erupted from all the pores on his body and formed another vortex. Explode. With a roar, the vortex around Wang Lin collapsed and turned into a powerful shockwave. The white-haired man's right hand couldn't help but pause for a moment. Using this opportunity, Wang Lin quickly retreated. His right hand grabbed the half-blood body, and his left hand formed a seal. There was a hint of madness in his eyes. This white-haired man was simply too powerful. All of Wang Lin's spells and treasures were useless against him. He pointed at the sky and shouted, "Wind!" The large amount of origin energy absorbed by his right hand cycled through his body and flowed out through the seal in his left hand. An even larger black wind appeared around Wang Lin. Still not enough. Wang Lin continued to retreat within the black wind. His right hand increased the suction force, causing the half-blood body to wither. Half of the origin energy was absorbed by Wang Lin, ignoring how much his body could withstand. The black wind around him grew several times larger. At this moment, the entire world was filled with black wind. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot, and he shouted, "Call the wind!" His voice came out from the black wind like the roar of the wind. In an instant, the black wind turned into 2 black dragons. These 2 black dragons were extremely ferocious. After they appeared, they immediately flew out and surrounded the white-haired man. They opened their mouths and spat out a large amount of cold wind. The white-haired old man's body trembled when he was hit by the cold wind, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. Just at this moment, Wang Lin shouted in his heart, "Not enough! Absorb more!" The half-blood body in his right hand immediately shrank by a large amount. At the same time, popping sounds came from inside Wang Lin's body. It was clear that his body couldn't withstand the large amount of origin energy. Bursts of black wind came out from all the pores on Wang Lin's body and gathered inside his body. In an instant, another black dragon appeared. The 3 black dragons surrounded the white-haired old man. They opened their mouths and blew out cold wind. No matter how the white-haired old man dodged, the 3 black dragons surrounded him. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. While the black dragons surrounded the white-haired old man, he injected origin energy into the blood body in his right hand. The blood body was on the verge of collapse, and he threw it at the white-haired old man. The moment the blood body closed in, Wang Lin shouted, "Explode!" There was a flash of red light on the blood body, and the origin energy Wang Lin had injected into it immediately collapsed. This caused a series of reactions that caused the blood body to emit a blinding red light, and then it exploded. This was an unimaginable impact. Under the cold wind from the three black dragons and the collapse of the blood body, the entire void shook violently, and even space itself began to collapse. Wang Lin quickly retreated and put away all his treasures. As he retreated, ripples appeared under his feet. He forced himself to calm down and allowed his body to merge with the world. The battle between him and the white-haired man did not last long, but the intensity of it was unimaginable. In particular, the divine ability of the three black dragons and the self-destruction of the blood clones had pushed the battle to its peak. The surrounding cultivators continued to retreat as Wang Lin fought. Their minds were all shaken as they watched. Wang Lin's figure was like a brand that would never dissipate in their lives. Shengong, whose eyes were filled with excitement as he stared at the retreating Wang Lin. The reverence in his heart increased once more. Zhang Conglai was the same. His eyes were filled with excitement as he stared at the retreating Wang Lin. As for Tang Yanfeng, his expression changed greatly and he sucked in a breath of cold air. He stared at Wang Lin with horror in his eyes. That black wind had far exceeded his imagination. Fortunately, I didn't attack that day. Otherwise, under this black wind, Tang Yanfeng's expression was gloomy, and he didn't continue to think about it. This person is too strong. He can't die. I have to quickly retreat. More and more ripples appeared under Wang Lin's feet. In an instant, his body merged with the world. He suddenly took a step back, and his body began to dissipate. However, just at this moment, it was as if someone had pushed his body. He was interrupted from merging with the world. His body no longer dissipated and immediately condensed. Fated little fellow, don't be in a rush to leave. The old man is too busy right now, so I'll borrow your body. The old voice came from within Wang Lin's body. At the same time, a force that only he could feel entered his body from an unknown method and cut off the connection between Wang Lin and his body. Under this force, Wang Lin's origin soul was immediately compressed. Another strange force gathered inside his body and formed another origin soul. This origin soul looked exactly the same as the mysterious old man who took away the Thunder Beast. The old man's origin soul moved and completely controlled Wang Lin's body. At this moment, Wang Lin's entire body changed. A powerful pressure burst out from his body. Wang Lin was like an outsider. He watched as his body took a step forward and moved his body as if he was getting used to it. At this moment, where the void collapsed, after the impact, a pitch-black statue was revealed. Cracking sounds came from within the statue, and a crack appeared between its eyebrows. The crack grew larger and larger, and in the end, two arms reached out from the crack and tore at its surroundings. The crack immediately widened, and a black-haired, middle-aged man slowly walked out from within. At this moment, there were no injuries on his body, but his eyes were filled with killing intent. Bai Fan's celestial spell, Qing Shuang's celestial sword, the unfettered master's treasure, and that body that was clearly comparable to his celestial king. You are the strongest Qi practitioner I have met since I awakened. You are qualified to say your name. The middle-aged man, who looked very similar to the white-haired eccentric but seemed much younger, patted the statue beside him with his right hand as he spoke. Immediately, the statue melted and turned into a long, black spear, which he held in his hand. What's with all the nonsense? Aren't you just a celestial? So what if you're a celestial lord? What's more, your current cultivation level is only that of a celestial king. Wang Lin looked at his own body and said this in a tone that sounded like an old man. However, he had a feeling that his words weren't very confident. As he spoke, he took a step forward and slammed his right hand forward. Immediately, the entire void shook and streams of white qi appeared. They gathered in front of him and, in the blink of an eye, turned into a white ball the size of a fist and rushed toward the middle-aged man. You can absorb the power of the world. Who are you? The middle-aged man's expression was solemn. He swung the spear in his hand, drawing an arc in the air. Immediately, countless rays of red light appeared out of nowhere and fused into the arc. In the blink of an eye, the arc condensed into a crescent moon and headed straight for the ball of light. Chapter 790. When the ball of light collided with the crescent moon, it immediately dissipated without a sound. However, countless cracks appeared at the center of the ball of light and spread out in all directions. It was so fast that some cultivators didn't dodge in time and were touched by the cracks. They immediately trembled and disappeared without a trace. The pupils of Wang Lin's body shrank an undetectable amount. He took a step forward and without any resistance, he merged with the world. However, he didn't dissipate. His right hand formed a seal, pointed at the sky, and shouted, "Burning celestial fire." In an instant, a red flame appeared without a sound and spread across the sky. It immediately descended. This flame appeared out of nowhere and contained an extremely terrifying aura. The moment it appeared, it immediately occupied half of the world. As it spread out, the surrounding cultivators all retreated in fear of being caught in it. This flame was too dense, and as it burned, it felt like it was going to refine the world. Even a single spark was enough to shock the surrounding cultivators. A large amount of origin energy spread out, causing Wang Lin's figure to flicker. However, no one dared to not look at him. Wang Lin's body raised his right hand and pressed down. He shouted, "Flame!" The surroundings collapsed, and the flames in the sky became even denser. It was as if someone had poured boiling oil on it, and it exploded. As the flames surrounded the middle-aged man, they gathered in a frenzy. During this process, they seemed to have turned into countless flame dragons that roared and charged at the middle-aged man to devour him. The middle-aged man's expression was serious, and there was a flash of coldness in his eyes. He let go of the spear in his right hand, and it immediately collapsed into countless pieces that surrounded him. At the same time, the middle-aged man pressed his right eye, and the red light in his eye became even brighter. I didn't think that a junior cultivator could reach this level. Not simple. You are qualified to make me use my G realm. As he spoke, his right eye flashed red, and a bolt of red lightning shot out. The moment the lightning shot out, a monstrous cold aura gathered and charged at Wang Lin. Under this cold aura and the speed of the red lightning, the flames seemed to be extinguished. They left behind a long trail as they charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's body's expression became serious. His hand formed another seal. He pointed forward, and he shouted, "Flame!" Popping sounds could be heard as the flames surrounding the middle-aged man flew into the air and formed a giant fireball. Inside the fireball was the middle-aged man. The moment the fireball formed, it immediately shrank as if it wanted to burn everything inside. Not only did it burn all tangible things, but even the void was being destroyed by the flames. Nothing in the world could escape the flames. Only the G realm charged out of the fireball toward Wang Lin. As the fireball shrank, the G realm turned into a bolt of red lightning and landed on Wang Lin's body. A destructive force immediately exploded. Wang Lin clearly saw the old man's origin soul collapse under the force of the G realm. However, the origin soul instantly reformed and then collapsed again. In just a few breaths of time, the old man's origin soul collapsed and reformed countless times. Every time it reformed, the origin soul would become weaker. A few breaths of time felt like an eternity to Wang Lin. The origin energy in his origin soul began to circulate. As the old man's origin soul reformed again, Wang Lin didn't hesitate to attack. Wang Lin had no choice but to help. Otherwise, if the old man's origin soul really collapsed or couldn't resist, the old man could easily escape. However, if that happened, only Wang Lin's origin soul would be left, and he wasn't confident he could resist the G realm. After all, the G realm came from the seal. Although it was very strong, it was extremely weak like a tree without roots. But this G realm was completely different. The moment Wang Lin's origin soul helped, he immediately felt the terrifying attack from the G realm. His origin soul trembled, and origin energy rushed out like layers of paper. The G realm was like a sharp sword that pierced through the paper. Luckily, the old man's origin soul was able to relax a bit and immediately attacked. The moment the sword stabbed into Wang Lin's origin soul, the old man swallowed it and continued to use origin energy to seal it. All of this felt very slow to Wang Lin, but in reality, it was very short. Even the surrounding cultivators didn't notice anything. So close. He is indeed worthy of being Celestial Lord Shimizu. The G realm is indeed amazing. The old man's divination was not in vain. Unfortunately, the old man's main body can't come, so I almost miscalculated. I didn't expect Celestial Lord Shimizu to still have this kind of strength after being sealed for so many years. The tired voice of the mysterious old man came from Wang Lin's origin soul. At this moment, the fireball shrank like crazy until it was only 10 feet wide. Shortly after, the fireball collapsed, causing the power inside to erupt several-fold. At this moment, it was as if everything in the world was shrouded in fire. Even though they were very far away, they could see the light shining on the world. This light filled the area. Wang Lin stood in the light, and his figure was filled with majesty. Shengong, whose eyes were filled with excitement. He looked at Wang Lin's figure and thought, "This is the true strength of the High Lord." My previous guess was not wrong. Zhang Konglai stood in the void. Although the fire was very far away, he could still feel the heat coming from it. He was very excited as he looked at Wang Lin inside the fire. The same thought as Shengong, who appeared in his mind once more. Senior's cultivation is unfathomable. Before, he had clearly suppressed his cultivation to the corporeal yang stage, but now it has increased countless times, and this is definitely not the end. As for Tang Yinfeng, his expression was no longer gloomy, but terrifyingly pale. When he saw Wang Lin fight the white-haired man, he was shocked. He didn't expect Wang Lin to have so many spells. Although he was shocked, he could reluctantly accept this fact. But now, when he saw the flames, he almost gasped. The shock in his heart had completely collapsed and was replaced by fear and astonishment. Tang Yinfeng muttered to himself, "Who the hell is he?" Shengong, who sneered as he looked at Tang Yinfeng, and calmly said, "Fellow cultivator Tang, do you still remember how you ridicule me outside the Thunder Celestial Realm? The person you are looking at is the person who made me, Shengong, who, willing to be blamed by my family and isolated by the Thunder Celestial Temple." Tang Yinfeng was startled as he stared at the figure inside the fire. He couldn't speak for a long time. Just at this moment, a low voice echoed, "To be able to survive the G realm, you are very strong." A statue appeared inside the fire. At this moment, the statue shattered and a young man walked out. This young man was very handsome, but there was a trace of evil aura around him. Ask for a monthly ticket. Chapter 791. Every time the white-haired man passed through a crisis, he would turn into a statue. When a statue broke, his appearance would become much younger. From an old man to a middle-aged man. Now he was a young man. This strange scene caused the surrounding cultivator's hair to stand on end. Wang Lin's body revealed a serious expression as he stared at the young man. After the young man appeared, his right hand pressed down on the broken statue. The fragments of the statue immediately melted and turned back into the spear that the young man held in his hand. The young man looked at Wang Lin and revealed a gloomy smile. His body flickered. Then he merged with the world and disappeared without a trace. The next moment, the young man strangely appeared behind an illusory Een cultivator. The illusory Een cultivator's expression changed greatly, and he immediately teleported away. Not only him, but all the surrounding cultivators also retreated. The smile on the young man's face became even more grim. He stabbed the spear in his hand into the void, and a ripple appeared. Not far away, the illusory Een cultivator was forced out of the void. The cultivator's face was pale, and he was about to continue to escape, but his body suddenly trembled. His entire body turned into flesh and blood, and even his origin soul was sucked away by a powerful force. In the blink of an eye, he was swallowed by the young man. Not even his skin, bones, blood, or flesh. Nothing was left. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. The young man's body flickered once more, and his figure moved through the surrounding cultivators. Every time he appeared, a cultivator would die. The mysterious old man, controlling Wang Lin's body, let out a cold snort. His body turned into a bolt of lightning as he charged out. At the same time, his right hand formed a seal, pointed at the sky, and shouted, "Condense!" Rays of purple light appeared from the void and quickly condensed in Wang Lin's right hand. In the blink of an eye, a purple ball of light appeared. There was a dense purple light and a thin mist surrounding it. It looked extremely beautiful. Scatter! A hoarse roar came from Wang Lin's mouth. The purple ball of light trembled and collapsed. It turned into a ripple that spread out like a raging wave. The ripples contained the power of the world, and when they spread out, all the surrounding cultivators, regardless of their cultivation level, felt a powerful force slam into their bodies. The force was too strong, and all the cultivators were forced to retreat at an extremely fast speed. Even Shingong Hu, Zhang Konglai, and company were the same. In an instant, an empty space appeared within 5 kilometers, leaving only Wang Lin and the young man. The young man licked his lips, and his face became slightly red. Although he didn't have much time, he had devoured more than 20 cultivators. At this moment, his eyes lit up and he no longer fought Wang Lin. Instead, he charged toward the cultivators that had been pushed away. Wang Lin clearly heard the old man's origin soul inside his body curse. He chased after the young man and shouted, "The great Shimizu, celestial lord, actually devoured a junior cultivator in order to recover his cultivation. If you really have the ability, then quickly come and fight this old man, so you don't lose face." The young man paused and turned around. His eyes were filled with monstrous killing intent as he slowly said, "This lord is not Shimizu." "Bullshit, you are Shimizu. Shimizu. Shimizu." The voice of the old man inside Wang Lin's body continued to echo. The killing intent in the young man's eyes became even stronger. He let out a cold snort as he charged toward the cultivators that were trying to escape. Back then, the crown prince of Shimizu has even forgotten his own name. How sad. The old man inside Wang Lin's body let out a sigh. However, he found that the young man wasn't affected at all. In a flash, he disappeared and reappeared in the distance to continue devouring cultivators. Wang Lin could clearly see the old man's origin soul inside his body reveal an angry expression. He took a step forward and merged with the world. When he reappeared, he was next to an ascendant cultivator in the distance. If you want to devour, then the old man will drive you away. After Wang Lin's body appeared, the ascendant cultivator's eyes widened in fear. Wang Lin's foot landed on the cultivator's body. A powerful force rushed out, and the cultivator's body trembled as he was kicked away. He merged with the world and disappeared in an instant. Wang Lin didn't stop. The moment he kicked the cultivator away, he disappeared and reappeared next to another cultivator. He also kicked. Just like this, Wang Lin and the young man gave up on fighting and instead used their speed. One of them drove away the cultivators, and the other devoured them. They were competing in speed. As Shun Gong, who escaped, he teleported, but in an instant, his teleportation was interrupted and his body was forced out of the void. At the same time, the evil young man appeared next to him. The evil young man's right hand reached out toward Shun Gong Hu's head. Shun Gong Hu's expression became fierce. He was an arrogant person, so his hands formed a seal and a bolt of thunder appeared in his palm. This bolt of thunder was dark red, and the moment it appeared, it caused the surrounding space to ripple. It was as if countless strands of thunder were gathering from all directions. Shingong, who only had one bolt of this thunder, and it was the peak of his cultivation. After being enlightened by Wang Lin, he had been searching for the origin of thunder and refining it in his body. After several years, he had finally formed one bolt, and it wasn't complete yet. This was why Shingong, who hadn't used it in the previous battles. This bolt of thunder was his biggest secret. It could even be said that because of this bolt of thunder, he respected Wang Lin even more. In his opinion, Wang Lin's guidance regarding thunder was extremely correct. He was confident that if he refined this thunder for a long time, he would one day be able to truly trace the origin of thunder. However, at this moment of life and death, he didn't have time to think about anything else, so he used this bolt of thunder. Even the evil young man couldn't help but exclaim when he saw this bolt of thunder. However, the coldness in his eyes didn't dissipate at all, and he directly reached out. Shingong, who let out a roar and threw out the thunder in his hand. The moment the thunder left his hand, it gave off a rich, dark red light and exploded. The young man let out a cold snort, and his right hand squeezed the thunder. He crushed the thunder. Shingong, who took advantage of this opportunity to retreat without hesitation. Just at this moment, Wang Lin saw Shingong, who, although he couldn't control his body, his origin soul could communicate with the mysterious old man. Save him. Wang Lin sent out a divine sense message. The old man's origin soul let out a cold snort, but he didn't refuse. After kicking away the cultivator beside him, he merged with the void and appeared next to Shingong, who, his right hand formed a seal and collided with the evil young man. A thunderous rumble echoed, and the evil young man retreated a few steps. Wang Lin also retreated, but as he retreated, he kicked Shingong with his right foot. Shingong, whose face was filled with excitement and fervor as he was kicked away. Shingong, whose body merged with the world and disappeared. The evil young man coldly looked at Wang Lin. His body flickered, and several avatars came out of his body. These avatars continued to split, and in the blink of an eye, the 32 avatars that had been destroyed by the battle between the two of them appeared once more. After the avatars appeared, they immediately spread out and charged off into the distance, chasing after the fleeing cultivators. Wang Lin clearly felt the old man's origin soul inside his body tremble. The old man let out a roar and controlled Wang Lin's body to fly up. He opened his arms, and a powerful origin energy came out from his body and merged with the world. As the origin energy merged with the world, it seemed to replace the world. It was as if at this moment, Wang Lin was the world. His eyes revealed a strange light, and he said, "Celestial spell, disappear." In an instant, origin energy immediately gathered around all the cultivators who were fleeing. Celestial spell, scatter. Wang Lin's voice echoed once more. In an instant, all the cultivators' bodies were uncontrollably condensed by origin energy and merged with the world. It was as if there was a pair of invisible hands messing with them. At this moment, if one looked down from above, they would clearly see the figures of the cultivators quickly disappear. In the blink of an eye, there was not a single cultivator left. Only the young man and his 32 avatars were left. Wang Lin could clearly feel that the old man's origin soul inside his body was extremely weak, as if it could dissipate at any moment. It was like a lamp without oil. Damn it, this time, the old man is going to suffer a loss. The young man's eyes were red as he charged at Wang Lin. Since you want to die, then I'll fulfill your wish. As the young man closed in, he threw the spear in his hand. The spear turned into a ray of black light that shot toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's scalp went numb. The old man's origin soul barely managed to control his body to escape. The evil young man followed closely behind and closed in. The mysterious old man controlling Wang Lin's body merged with the world and disappeared in a flash. However, the evil young man behind him also merged with the world and chased after them. The two of them were too fast. In the blink of an eye, they had crossed countless fragments. Gradually, a cold smile appeared on the evil young man's face. He slowly said, "From the moment you appeared, I knew that your goal was to lure me to your main body. Fine, I'll go with you and devour your main body. Compared to the countless Qi practitioners here, I'll definitely be able to recover my cultivation." The plot was not easy to write. Although there was an outline, it required careful planning of the flesh and blood. It was very tiring. Please support me with votes. Chapter 792. At this moment, Wang Lin seemed to understand something. When a mysterious old man's origin soul controlled his body to cast the spell, he only used a small amount of origin energy. The rest came from the world. From Wang Lin's point of view, this spell was very similar to extracting the spirit of all living things, but it was a bit different. It was clearly more profound. However, the change in this spell had far exceeded Wang Lin's current cultivation level. Although he could feel it, there was a barrier he couldn't pierce through. As the old man controlled his body, Wang Lin didn't have time to think about the spell. He could clearly feel that the mysterious old man's origin soul was dissipating, and it was dissipating very quickly. It had only been half an incense stick of time, and more than half of the old man's origin soul had dissipated. He was using his origin soul to move faster. Wang Lin couldn't tell how fast he was anymore. He merged with the world and moved forward in a flash. It was as if time had been stretched infinitely. He was no longer walking in the void, but stepping on time. This was a complete illusion, but at this moment, Wang Lin couldn't think of any other words to explain this change in speed. This was because Wang Lin had reached the threshold of spatial bending, a great spell that belonged to second-step cultivators. Although he couldn't merge with the world like the old man and didn't need to spend any time, he could still use it if he was prepared. If it was any other cultivator, even if they were at the corporeal yang stage, they wouldn't be able to use spatial bending to fuse with the world. Their origin soul wouldn't be able to withstand this sudden change, and if it was light, they would be seriously injured. If it was a bit more serious, their origin soul would immediately collapse. Even though Wang Lin had reached the threshold of spatial bending, his origin soul still couldn't withstand this state of walking for a long time. His body, under the control of the old man's origin soul, almost didn't leave the world and remained in a state of fusion. It was as if his entire body, including his origin soul, was divided into countless particles, and these particles became a part of the world. He could reach any location in the world in an instant, but it was clear that this great spell still had some restrictions. Otherwise, the old man would have been able to reach his original body after fusing with it, and there would be no need for him to rush like this. Half an incense stick of time felt like 100 years to Wang Lin. This 100 years turned into a storm. This storm was too strong, and he was like a rootless leaf in the storm. He was constantly rotating with the storm, struggling not to be torn apart by the storm. This state was extremely painful, but it had unimaginable benefits for Wang Lin. His origin soul continued to struggle in the storm, and the feeling of fusing with the world became more and more profound. In the end, it was engraved in his mind, and he would never be able to get rid of it. If other cultivators knew about Wang Lin's current state, some of them would be excited. The second step of cultivation, aside from origin energy, was about fusing with the law, controlling the law, and controlling the law. However, all of this was too vague and couldn't be explained clearly. Thus, fusing with the world became an inevitable path to explore the law. Only by fusing more closely with the world could one obtain the right to explore the power of law. Without a doubt, Wang Lin's origin soul was unintentionally being helped by the mysterious old man. It was as if there was a pair of large hands grabbing him and forcefully fusing with the world. It was painful, but the benefits were real. His origin soul became more and more closely integrated with the world. It was as if he was part of the world to begin with. Under this state, Wang Lin's domain seemed to be touched as well. It gradually began to merge with the karma of the world along with his origin soul. Aside from his origin soul, his body also benefited. After the series of cleansing, Wang Lin's body was no longer separated from his origin energy. And now, under the mysterious old man's control, his body was fusing with the world for a long time. Just like his origin soul, his body was fusing with the world without limit. However, this was not the main point. The main point was that in the process of merging with the world, the so-called dissipation was actually a state where the physical body seemed to be in a state where it had collapsed but was not dead. Only in this state could it reform where the world was. After being in this state for a long time, his body naturally obtained the power of the world. It was as if every strand of muscle and every drop of blood contained the power of the world. Of course, all of this wasn't intentional by the mysterious old man. If it wasn't for the fact that Wang Lin's body met these conditions, then when the old man walked out of the world and went to his original body, Wang Lin's body would immediately collapse and his origin soul would immediately die. Wang Lin and the evil young man moved quickly while fusing with the world. After a while, Wang Lin's figure flickered and he appeared above a fragment in the northern part of the Thunder Celestial Realm. The moment his body appeared, the old man's origin soul completely disappeared from his body. In almost an instant, Wang Lin regained control of his body. A sense of familiarity that he hadn't felt for a long time appeared in his heart. After regaining control of his body, Wang Lin activated all the origin energy in his body without hesitation. The origin energy spread out through his pores, forming a vortex, and he exploded. With a thunderous bang, his body borrowed the impact from the collapse of the origin energy vortex to charge out even faster. The moment he charged out, the evil young man took a step forward. His right hand was blocked by the origin energy vortex, and he grabbed air where Wang Lin was. After Wang Lin charged out, he didn't stop at all and immediately flew into the distance. At the same time, he slapped his bag of holding and the celestial sword appeared in his hand. Without any hesitation, he sent out 8 heavenly chops around him. There were a few crackling sounds and large amounts of cracks appeared in the sky around Wang Lin. An invisible seal appeared and was torn apart by Wang Lin's heavenly chops. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. He moved even faster and charged out. Previously, he had suffered the loss of having his surroundings completely sealed, so he wouldn't make the same mistake again. The evil young man's eyes became cold. He looked at the fragment and frowned. This place was the celestial worship stage of the Thunder Celestial Realm, the core of the entire Thunder Celestial Realm. It is said to be the closest place to the ancient celestial realm before it disappeared. Rumor has it that when the ancient celestial realm existed, the first step the ancient celestials took was here. To lure me here, what is the purpose of that person who also has the strength of a celestial lord? He didn't open it on purpose, but he didn't want everyone to wait too long, so he sent out first. He wasn't going to eat and was going to continue writing. There will be another chapter in a bit. Chapter 793. After pondering for a bit, he looked at Wang Lin's figure in the distance. He raised his right hand and pointed forward. A red ball of light appeared in front of his finger. At the same time, countless thin lines appeared out of nowhere and gathered inside the ball of light. The ball of light shined brightly and flew toward Wang Lin like lightning. Wang Lin's hair stood on end, and he cursed in his heart. If it wasn't for the mysterious old man, he would have already escaped. The blood ancestor had already used up half of his blood body, so there was no chance for him to escape. At this moment of crisis, Wang Lin clenched his teeth. Since he couldn't dodge, he turned around and spat out the fragment stamp to block before him. At this moment, the ball of red light arrived and collided with the fragment stamp. There was a thunderous rumble, and the fragment stamp began to tremble violently. However, it didn't collapse. However, a powerful force came from inside and landed on Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin's face immediately turned pale, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. He immediately retreated along with the stamp. The crisis wasn't over yet. The powerful force from the fragment stamp landed on Wang Lin's body like waves. He coughed out 3 mouthfuls of blood as he retreated, but his expression was ferocious. "You want to kill me? It won't be so easy." Wang Lin held the fragment stamp with one hand and slapped his bag of holding with the other. A screen immediately appeared. The moment the screen appeared, it trembled and the mountain and river painting on it filled the area. It was as if the world had turned black and white, turning into a painting of mountains and rivers. A powerful force came from the mountain and river. When Wang Lin stepped on the mountain and river, he felt all the power in his body dissipate. The powerful force from the mountain and river entered the fragment stamp and neutralized the terrifying force inside it. Mountain and river painting. The evil young man's eyes narrowed. But after a moment, he sneered. It's just a replica. He lifted his right hand and made a tearing motion in front of him. A crisp, ripping sound could be heard, and the mountains and rivers in the area twisted and distorted. A moment later, Wang Lin's body was forced out. His face was pale as he retreated. Back then, I borrowed this painting and studied it for 1,000 years. Even if you have the real painting, I can still break it with a mere exalted, immortal Qi practitioner like you. The evil youth sneered and took a step forward. Just as he was about to give chase, he suddenly stopped. His eyes became cold as he looked at the ground under his feet. The fragment suddenly began to shake. It wasn't just a certain part of the fragment, but the entire continent. The intensity of the shaking was extremely intense. In almost an instant, the countless mountains on the continent began to crumble and collapse. It was as if a huge hand had swept across the land, flattening everything that protruded out. In the blink of an eye, the continent actually rose into the air. Its speed was too fast, and it almost instantly closed in on the evil youth in the air. The youth's eyes narrowed, and he immediately flew up. As for Wang Lin, he put away his treasure and quickly flew up. His eyes were calm, and he didn't look at the continent. Instead, he continued to retreat, try to merge with the world. Suddenly, the roars of lightning beasts came from all directions. As the fragment rose into the air, the chains at the edge of the fragment began to shake violently. There was a lightning beast on each of the chains. They roared continuously as they rose into the air. This continent was rising due to the power of all these thunder beasts. At this moment, it wasn't just the continent Wang Lin and the evil youth were on that was shaking. Nearly 40% of the 49 fragments in the Thunder Celestial Realm trembled and rose into the air at the same time. This was a great formation. With the fragment Wang Lin and the evil youth were on as the center, it was a peerless formation in the shape of a plum blossom. All of the 49 continents were connected by iron chains, each of which had a roaring lightning beast attached to it as it rose up into the sky. As a result, it was as if the only sound left in the Thunder Celestial Realm was the sound of the fragments being pulled. The 49 fragments weren't just trembling due to the power of all these thunder beasts. They were rotating. Around the fragment at the center, the remaining 48 fragments slowly rotated. At first, they were slow, but a moment later, they became faster and faster. The chains connecting the fragments at the edge of the formation had long collapsed. As a result, there was no longer any power that could stop them from rotating. Gradually, their speed was equivalent to a cultivator flying. As they rotated, a vortex appeared. This vortex was too large. All the mountains on each of the 49 fragments collapsed. The violent tremors caused a chain reaction in the Thunder Celestial Realm. In particular, the giant vortex caused by the rotation of the 49 fragments seemed to form an abyss that created an unimaginable suction force. Under this suction force, as the Thunder Celestial Realm trembled, the entire Celestial Realm began to truly collapse. This wasn't the collapse of one fragment or the collapse of the void, but the entire Thunder Celestial Realm. Since the first time the Celestial Realm shattered into countless fragments, this was the second time the Thunder Celestial Realm had such a large-scale collapse. Terrifying cracks appeared in the sky, and large amounts of cold wind blew out. It was as if countless holes had been torn in the sky, and they continued to expand. It was as if the end of the world was coming. At this moment, the cultivators of the Thunder Celestial Realm were filled with indescribable fear. Even that nefarious man was completely stunned at this moment. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that the person who had lured him here would actually make such a huge move, using the fragments of the Thunder Celestial Realm to form a formation. It looks like it's not as simple as a formation. Could it be that this person wants to refine the Thunder Celestial Realm into a treasure? The evil youth sucked in a breath of cold air. Even with his experience, he couldn't help but think, madman. Wang Lin was even more dumbfounded. His ears were filled with the sound of the cracks in the void and the rumbles that echoed across the entire Thunder Celestial Realm. It was as if countless fragments were colliding with each other. His retreating speed immediately slowed down, and cracks continued to appear around him. The destructive aura coming from the cracks caused his mind to tremble and his scalp to go numb. An arrogant laugh echoed across the world. At the same time, the mysterious old man's figure appeared in the sky. His eyes were filled with excitement as he said, "The old man has entered the celestial realm hundreds of times and planned for tens of thousands of years. Among the cultivators in this world, who has the courage of the old man and Master Flamespark to refine the thunder celestial realm and scheme against the famous celestial Lord Shimizu? Ha, who dares?" The old man used half of the thunder celestial realm as a treasure. Who in the Luo-Tian star system can be my match? From now on, my Luo-Tian cultivators will no longer need the Luo-Tian stone and can freely enter the Alliance star system. Master Zhongxian, when the old man was forced to leave, he said that one day he would take the millions of cultivators in the Luo-Tian star system and trample the Alliance. Today, I finally finished writing. To be honest, it was very tiring to write the plot. However, although my body was tired, my heart was excited. This was a very strange state. I wanted to use my hands to write out the excitement in my heart. I wanted to write down the world in my heart and show it to the readers. Airgen worked very hard. Everyone could see it. July's monthly votes were very low. Even when Earlobe exploded, there weren't many monthly votes. It was very helpless. Even though he knew that he only needed 200 votes to break through the 6th or 5th place and rush to the peak position in June, it was very difficult to increase these 200 votes. Begging for votes, begging for monthly votes. Please consider Immortal Renegade when you're choosing who to vote for among these books. Tomorrow is Monday, and the recommendation votes will be given after 10 hours. Dear readers, don't forget to thank you. So hungry. My wife isn't home, and it's raining outside. I can't go out, so I can only eat noodles. Chapter 794. As the 49 fragments rotated, the Thunder Celestial Realm began to collapse on a large scale due to the vortex. The powerful suction from the vortex echoed across the entire Thunder Celestial Realm. The large-scale collapse continued and grew more and more intense. More and more fissures appeared in the sky, appearing almost instantaneously. It was as if a sharp sword had been sliced open within the sky, and the fissures extended rapidly. Anyone who was close to the fissures would have been shocked and would have been instantly devoured. At this moment, Master Flamespark's eyes revealed a strange light. He floated in the air and opened his arms. The fragment below him began to slowly rotate. The old man's thunder celestial formation will be completed today. As Master Flamespark laughed, his hand formed a seal. Origin energy surged out from his body and entered the earth below him. The origin energy spread out as if there was no end. Wang Lin trembled violently, and his expression was very gloomy. He floated in the sky in the distance and silently stared at Master Flamespark. As for the evil youth, his eyes lit up and he slowly said, "Refining the celestial realm into a treasure is indeed very interesting. However, what is the use of it without a magical spirit?" In the sky, Master Flamespark laughed and said, "Who says there isn't one? Magical spirit, appear." As he spoke, he spat out a ray of gray light. Inside the gray light was an ancient mirror the size of a palm. This mirror grew with the wind, and in an instant, it grew several times its original size, turning into a large oval mirror that was half the height of a person. The surface of the mirror distorted, and an origin soul flew out. The moment the origin soul appeared, it was filled with dense origin energy. Illusory in cultivator's origin soul. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. The evil youth looked at the origin soul and slowly said, "Rank 4 upper celestial." He wasn't in a rush to act. Instead, he wanted to see how this person called Master Flamespark would refine the Thunder Celestial Realm. Moreover, with his cultivation level, he could naturally tell that the Master Flamespark in the sky wasn't his original body, but an avatar. The illusory in origin soul's eyes were filled with confusion. The moment it appeared, Master Flamespark shouted, "49th soul, go!" After he spoke, the origin soul's eyes shined brightly, as if it had ignited its divine sense. It clasped its hands at Master Flamespark and then fused with the earth. In the blink of an eye, it turned into origin energy and disappeared. Using a method Wang Lin couldn't understand, the origin soul arrived at the edge of one of the 49 fragments and fused with it. Immediately, the 49th continent seemed to have come to life, and its intelligence increased greatly. This didn't end. Under Wang Lin's gaze, the ancient mirror rippled once more, and origin souls flew out one by one. Master Flamespark let out a roar, and the illusory origin souls immediately landed on the ground and disappeared. Soon, of the 49 revolving continents, 28 of them had magical treasure spirits. Treasure spirit, appear. Master Flamespark's eyes were filled with excitement. The ancient mirror twisted violently, and an origin soul flew out. The moment this origin soul appeared, the origin energy it gave off was obviously stronger than the previous 28. Wang Lin immediately gasped. He recognized that this was the origin soul of a corporeal yang cultivator. The evil youth's expression was still neutral as he calmly said, "Rank 9 upper celestial, not bad." Shortly after the corporeal yang origin soul flew out, Shursan's origin soul also flew out and disappeared. 42 of the enormous spell formation formed by the 49 land fragments suddenly experienced transformations. Not only did their spirituality increase, but the power of the spell formation also began to skyrocket. Appear. Master Flamespark laughed like crazy. He had prepared for tens of thousands of years for this day. The ancient mirror trembled. This time, roughly 10 breaths later, a Yuan spirit slowly flew out. This Yuan spirit was extremely old and seemed to be a little dispirited. However, when he appeared, there was an extremely great surge of Yuan Qi that far surpassed the 42 Yuan spirits from before that spread out in the surroundings. This is... Wang Lin's pupil shrank. This origin energy was extremely powerful. It was almost on par with the Huan family's ancestor. It must be the origin soul of a nirvana scryer, cultivator. The evil youth's eyes narrowed as he licked his lips and slowly said, "Rank 3 heavenly, celestial." After the origin soul appeared, it looked up at the sky. Its eyes were filled with confusion, as if it was recalling the past. However, when Master Flamespark shouted, the origin soul trembled and its eyes were filled with fear. Its body flickered and it disappeared into the earth. Immediately, the 7th fragment of the celestial world formation erupted with a powerful pressure, causing the formation's power to increase explosively. This didn't end. Ripples appeared on the ancient mirror, and a pair of large hands came out, as if they were going to tear the mirror apart. Then an origin soul walked out. The nascent divinity was that of a middle-aged man, and his face was filled with murderous intent. When he tore open the seal and walked out, he immediately lifted his head and roared. The murderous intent on his body instantly surged up and actually became corporeal, forming a red storm. Wang Lin involuntarily retreated, and his eyes were filled with shock. He could no longer calculate this origin soul's cultivation level. He only felt that this person was inferior to the blood ancestor. Rank 9 heavenly, celestial. The evil youth's eyes were filled with greed, but he didn't go up to steal it. Master Flamespark looked at the middle-aged man with a hint of regret in his eyes and slowly said, "This is the old man's 4th fated person. Unfortunately, the 6th fragment returned." The middle-aged man, filled with killing intent, suddenly turned his head and stared at Master Flamespark. After pondering for a moment, he charged out and merged with the earth. Immediately, a powerful killing intent erupted from the 6th fragment. The entire celestial realm formation was enveloped by the killing intent, and its power increased once more. Before the killing intent dissipated, cracking sounds came from the ancient mirror. A crack suddenly appeared on the surface of the mirror. At the same time, ripples appeared and another origin soul walked out. This origin soul was an old man. The moment he appeared, the world suddenly changed. It was as if all the cracks in the sky that had appeared due to the collapse had stopped. There was no origin energy, but the appearance of this old man caused Wang Lin to retreat once more. The pressure from this old man was shocking. Rank 2, Celestial King. The evil youth's eyes lit up. This old man's origin soul didn't show any rare signs of confusion, but was completely clear. After he appeared, he looked at the world before his gaze fell on Master Flamespark. He nodded slightly and sent out an ancient divine sense message. Remember your promise. After leaving behind this sentence, the old man's origin soul merged with the earth and disappeared. A powerful aura erupted from the fifth fragment. Cracking sounds could be heard again. The cracks on the ancient mirror grew deeper and longer. Another nascent soul walked out from within. This nascent soul was completely red and filled with a blood-colored glow. There was also an intense hatred that exploded out the moment it appeared. Blood Ancestor. Wang Lin's expression changed greatly as he retreated and stared at the origin soul. However, a moment later, he saw the problem. Although this origin soul was the Blood Ancestor's, its eyes were dim without any spirit. After the Blood Ancestor's origin soul appeared, it silently landed on the earth and merged with the earth. However, the moment it disappeared, it raised its head and looked at Wang Lin. The fourth god had returned. Rank 6 Celestial King. The evil youth's eyes lit up, and he revealed a gloomy smile as he slowly said, "Interesting. I just don't know if there are any celestial lords." Master Flamespark, who was floating in the air, said with a hint of pride, "There are." The crack on the ancient mirror became even deeper. It wasn't just one, but several cracks appeared. This made the ancient mirror look like it was going to shatter. There was a flash of light, and this time, two Yuan spirits stepped out at the same time. An unimaginable surge of Yuan Qi, which almost solidified, filled the area. These two origin souls weren't complete. They were slightly dim, and there was a seal between their eyebrows that gave off a ghostly light. The moment the two origin souls appeared, the evil youth's expression changed. He stared at the two origin souls and slowly said, "Rank 1 Celestial Lords." Wang Lin's face was pale, and his eyes were serious. He felt an aura as powerful as Tian Yunzi's from these two origin souls. Master Flamespark's expression revealed a hint of caution. His hand formed a seal, and he shouted, "Third god, second god, return." The two origin souls coldly looked at Master Flamespark before slowly landing on the ground and disappearing into the mirror. The moment they disappeared, the ancient mirror trembled and crackling sounds came from it before it collapsed into countless fragments. At the same time, the origin soul of a middle-aged man walked out. This middle-aged man looked extremely ordinary. There were no fluctuations of origin energy coming from his body. However, the moment he appeared, a killing intent that could tear apart the world erupted from his body. This killing intent fused with the world, as if it had become part of the law. Wang Lin immediately coughed out a large mouthful of blood. Origin energy surged inside his body, and he quickly retreated, but the killing intent still remained. His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with terror. Reign Celestial Realm. Rank 6 Celestial Slaughter Lord. The evil youth's expression changed as he stared at the middle-aged man. His eyes became cold. The middle-aged man was extremely calm. After he appeared, he looked at Master Flamespark. Master Flamespark pointed at the earth below him and shouted, "First god, return." The middle-aged man was silent for a moment. Then his body flickered as he landed on the ground and vanished. However, it was at this point that the first fragment in the very center of the Immortal World Grand Spell Formation erupted with killing intent, which spread out to cover all of the other fragments. Master Flamespark's eyes were filled with excitement as he shouted, "Celestial Formation, return." He originally prepared 49 origin souls, but the Blood Ancestor wasn't among them. However, after obtaining the Blood Ancestor's origin soul, he changed his mind and replaced it with one. With Master Flamespark's words, a huge change took place in the Thunder Celestial Realm. The 49 fragments seemed to have their own treasure spirits. They shrank until they were the size of a palm and gathered around Master Flamespark. A strand of divine sense flew out from each fragment and entered Master Flamespark's body. When all 49 strands of divine sense entered Master Flamespark's body, there was a flash of light, and his body became corporeal. In order to refine the Thunder Celestial Realm, Master Flamespark's origin soul had been split into 49 pieces and fused with the fragments. Only then could he have complete control over them. Now that his origin souls had returned, they fused back into his original body. At this moment, he was surrounded by 49 fragments, and an unimaginably powerful aura came from the 49 fragments. This made Master Flamespark look extremely majestic, very wonderful. The evil youth looked at Master Flamespark and slowly said, "Although this celestial formation treasure is powerful, it lacks a bit of fierceness. I presume this is why you lured me here." Master Flamespark stared at the evil youth and said, "Celestial Lord Shimizu, I want your G-Realm." The evil youth frowned and calmly said, "I'm not Shimizu." The old man went to the Celestial Realm hundreds of times and looked through all the Celestial Realm's secret scriptures. Finally, he found that there was a person in the Thunder Celestial Realm named Shimizu. This person's cultivation level was very high, and he had the legendary G-Realm. He was the crown prince of the ancient cultivation world of Shimizu. After he ascended to the Celestial Realm, he came to the Thunder Celestial Realm and eventually became a Celestial Lord. However, before the Celestial Realm collapsed, this person changed for some reason. He changed his usual way of doing things and started killing like a demon. The Celestials of the Celestial Realm besieged him, but because he had the G-Realm, he caused endless slaughter. In the end, Celestial Emperor Defiant acted and defeated him, but he couldn't bear to kill him. When he was caught between a rock and a hard place, his divine sense seemed to return to its original place. It was as if everything that had happened before was just a dream. When he woke up, he realized that he had slaughtered numerous immortals. Among the people he had killed were his friends, his disciples, and even his descendants. Most importantly, one of the people he had killed was his Taoist partner who had accompanied him for tens of thousands of years. All of this caused him to be filled with grief and indignation. He had personally slaughtered his family and Tao partner, causing endless slaughter, but his demonic thoughts immediately awakened. Just as he was about to lose his mind, he struggled to kill himself with his sword. His origin soul and body collapsed, and in order to prevent the G-Realm from reviving him, he used his own treasure, the sealing vortex, to seal his origin soul and body into 9 parts. Celestial Emperor Defiant felt sad, so he set up a healing formation on the 9 seals. He hoped that one day this person would completely awaken. The reason Celestial Emperor Defiant did this was because Shimizu was his only disciple and was considered the person most likely to become the Celestial Emperor in the Thunder Celestial Realm. After Master Flamespark finished speaking, he slapped his bag of holding and took out a celestial jade. This celestial jade was very ancient. It had obviously existed for a very long time. This is a celestial jade left behind by Celestial Emperor Defiant about his disciple Shimizu's life. Take a look and you will know. He threw the celestial jade at the evil youth. This person took the celestial jade. After pondering for a bit, his eyes were filled with confusion. Celestial Defying Celestial Realm has been promoted. I'm very excited. I ask all fellow cultivators to vote for me in the next 2 days. Let the Celestial Defying Celestial Realm charge. Charge. Monthly votes, rewards, comments. Please bring me a storm in the next 2 days. Thank you all. Chapter 795. While he was confused, there was a flash of bloodlust. A blood-red light erupted from his eyes and surrounded his body. He held the celestial jade and swallowed it. He looked up at Master Flamespark with a ferocious expression. Master Flamespark secretly realized that something was wrong. He quickly waved his right hand, and the 49 fragments flew forward. At this moment, Shimizu let out a roar. This roar was too loud and contained the might of the heavens. It was as if a thunderous roar had echoed across the area. Large amounts of spatial cracks appeared before Shimizu and were pushed back toward Master Flame's park. At the same time, endless cold wind came from the torn void. It was as if the heavens were angry and formed a storm that rushed toward Master Flame's park. Master Flamespark's expression was gloomy as he let out a cold snort. The 49 fragments began to rotate, and a powerful suction force appeared. Whether it was the torn void or the cold wind, it was all sucked into the vortex. Master Flamespark shouted, "Shimizu, the old man showed you the celestial jade to help you remember what happened back then. He had no ill intent." Wang Lin was very far away, so he quickly retreated. His hands formed many seals, and he barely escaped. His face was pale as he gloomily stared ahead. "I'm going to kill you." Shimizu charged out with a ferocious expression. He was too fast, and his right hand reached at the void. He tore open the void and appeared behind Master Flamespark. His eyes were bloodshot, and he mercilessly clawed at Master Flamespark. The 49 fragments before Master Flamespark immediately appeared behind him and collided with Shimizu's right hand. There was a thunderous rumble, and even with Shimizu's strength, he was forced back 1,000 feet. His eyes became even more bloodshot, and he seemed to enter a strange state. He let out a roar and charged out once more. Master Flamespark frowned. He didn't expect such a thing to happen after he showed Wang Lin the celestial jade. This caught him off guard, and when he saw Wang Lin's current state, his heart sank. Could it be that the same thing happened to him back then? Has something happened to him, and he's been taken over by the demonic will? Master Flamespark was secretly angry. When Shimizu charged at him again, his hand formed a seal, and the 49 fragments around him scattered. There was a flash of golden light. As the golden light intersected, it formed a formation. Immortal Array, Dermic Rotation. Master Flamespark let out a roar, and the golden formation flew out from the 49 fragments. It was like an illusion formation as it quickly flew out and surrounded Qing Shui. As Shimizu roared, his body was imprisoned in place. Just at this moment, Master Flamespark's eyes lit up and he shouted, "Immortal Slaughtering Stab." In an instant, the golden formation began to spin, and numerous golden thorns suddenly appeared within the rotation, stabbing madly into Shimizu's body. The golden light contained an aura of destruction, and Wang Lin could feel it even though he was very far away. As the countless golden thorns pierced through his body, the ferocious expression on Shimizu's face became even stronger. "I originally forgot about what happened back then, but you made me remember." There was a hint of sadness in Shimizu's red eyes. This sadness was very, very strong. It was as if it wouldn't dissipate even after tens of thousands of years. "Call the wind." Shimizu raised his right hand and pointed at the sky. As Wang Lin's eyes suddenly opened, he saw a gust of black wind rush out. It surrounded Wang Lin's body and formed a tornado that suddenly tore the formation apart. The golden formation instantly collapsed, and the black wind turned into 8 black dragons that swept across the sky. Their giant bodies seemed to fuse with the void, leaving only their heads exposed. They opened their mouths and blew at Master Flamespark. The cold wind blew by as if the world no longer existed. It was as if everything before him had been destroyed. Master Flamespark's expression became even more gloomy as he retreated. His right hand formed a seal, and he shouted, "Celestial Formation, Origin Gathering." The 49 fragments around his body suddenly emitted a large amount of yuan power. The yuan power condensed in an instant and formed 49 long rainbows that flew out at the same time, heading straight for the Yin wind that was blowing in the void. Bang, 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 bang. Continuous explosions echoed. Wang Lin continued to retreat, and blood flowed out from his orifices. Every explosion would cause his mind to tremble, but his eyes were extremely bright, and he stared intently. "Call the wind." This is the power of Call the Wind. After 49 thunderous rumbles, Master Flamespark retreated a few dozen feet, and his face was slightly pale. Operating the formation wasn't a small burden on him. Originally, fighting Qing Feng shouldn't have been this difficult, but the other party's spell was simply too powerful. This is no ordinary celestial spell. When Master Flamespark controlled Wang Lin's body, he hadn't seen Wang Lin use it. Now that he saw it for the first time, he was shocked. When the Thunder Celestial Realm collapsed, rumor has it that Celestial Emperor Bai Fan died mysteriously. As Bai Fan's disciple, don't you want to find out the cause and effect and get revenge for your teacher? Master Flamespark frowned. Unless he had to, he really didn't want to fight Celestial Lord Qing Feng. This was very different from his plan. There was a flash of killing intent in Qing Feng's eyes. He took a step forward and immediately chased. At the same time, his hand formed a seal, and then he pointed at the sky and shouted, "Summon the rain." In an instant, droplets of translucent, crystal-like raindrops appeared in the void within a radius of 3,000 feet. These raindrops were like fresh blood, and they were dark red in color. At the same time, Qing Feng's hand formed a seal, pointed forward, and shouted, "Summon the rain." Ice seal. Bursts of crackling sounds echoed, and all the water droplets within 10,000 feet turned into ice crystals. The ice rapidly spread from the outside and connected with each other in the blink of an eye. The ice spread like crazy toward Master Flamespark at the center. Celestial Lord's shocking change caused him to lose his mind and caused endless slaughter. Could it be that Celestial Lord doesn't have any doubts about the true cause? As Master Flamespark roared, the 49 fragments began to rotate around him, forming a vortex. At the same time, the fragments began to expand several-fold and were still expanding. According to what I know from the ancient records, when Celestial Lord lost his mind, there were people in the other 3 celestial realms like Celestial Lord. Perhaps the answer to all of this can be found in the Cultivation Alliance of the Rain Celestial Realm. Even if there isn't an answer, I promise to do my best to help Celestial Lord go to the Wind and Thunder Celestial Realms to find a reason. The 49 fragments around Master Flamespark rotated like crazy, forming a giant vortex. As the vortex spread out, it began to resist the ice that was rapidly spreading. The old man isn't afraid of you. He just doesn't want to fight you. If it wasn't for the old man secretly helping you, how could you have broken the seal? Shimizu, don't force me. Master Flamespark became angry and shouted. Shimizu suppressed the killing intent in his eyes. He looked at Master Flamespark and slowly said, "Give me a reason to gift you the G Realm. One more chapter, asking for monthly votes, recommendation votes, rewards, and promotion. Let the big bosses explode." Chapter 796. Master Flamespark's eyes became serious, and he said, "If Celestial Lord wants to recover, you will need a large amount of origin energy. If you devour the cultivators of the Luo Tian star system, why don't you come with me to the Alliance star system in the Rain Celestial Realm? There are even more powerful cultivators there. I believe it won't take long for Celestial Lord to recover to your peak." Shimizu calmly said, "This reason is not enough." After Celestial Lord was sealed, the Celestial Realm suffered a calamity and all 4 Celestial Realms collapsed. Celestial Lord, do you not want to know the reason? Rumor has it that there are still Celestials living in the Alliance star system. If Celestial Lord follows me, you will know everything. Shimizu pondered for a long time and slowly said, "Still not enough. When I was young, I was an elder in the Alliance star system. There was a scroll in the Alliance star system. Rumor has it that this scroll fell from the sky after the Celestial Realm collapsed. There was a trace of the ancient Celestial Realm's aura on it. Even when the old man left the Alliance star system, no one could open it. However, rumor has it that the scroll contains the true secret that caused the Celestial Realm to collapse. All of this must be related to what happened to you back then. After all of this is simply too much of a coincidence. Less than 100 years after you slaughtered the Celestials, the Celestial Realm collapsed. The old man would never believe that there is no connection between all of this. Shimizu, we are not enemies. If you still don't agree with these reasons, then let's fight." The old man will no longer hold back and release the full power of this celestial formation. There was a flash of killing intent in Master Flamespark's eyes. The 49 fragments around him suddenly stopped rotating, but an extremely terrifying aura came out from them. Shimizu coldly looked at Master Flamespark. His eyes were red and a cold aura slowly spread out. Master Flamespark's heart sank, and he let out a sigh. He had already done his best. During these tens of thousands of years, he had looked through the ancient records of the celestial realm and learned of what happened. He had decided to refine the celestial realm, obtain the G realm, and find helpers. Unfortunately, he didn't expect this to be the result. If you lie, I will detonate my Lamita realm. As Shimizu calmly spoke, his right eye shined red and a bolt of lightning shot out. The moment the lightning appeared, all the ice around Master Flamespark disappeared. The bolt of lightning charged toward a fragment around Master Flamespark. Then, bolts of red lightning that contained the pinnacle state shot out from Shimizu's right eye. There were a total of 49 bolts, and they fused into each of the fragments. The entire celestial formation treasure immediately emitted a chilling aura. Occasionally, it would flash with a red light, which contained the mystic ability of the pinnacle realm. Celestial Lord, you can rest assured that the old man is not lying. As Master Flamespark laughed, his right hand formed a seal and pressed down. The 49 fragments rotated and a giant black hole appeared in the sky. Celestial Lord, follow me to see the fellow cultivators from the Luo Tian star system. Then we will open the passage to the Alliance star system. As Master Flamespark spoke, he took a step and was about to enter the vortex. Shimizu didn't hesitate and also stepped forward. Just at this moment, Wang Lin clenched his teeth and shouted, "Senior, since the celestial formation treasure has been formed, I hope you can return the Thunder Beast." Master Flamespark stopped and turned toward Wang Lin. He smiled and said, "I still need to use the Thunder Beast for a while. Once we open the passage to the Alliance star system, I'll naturally return it to you. You are fated with the old man. If you can leave the Thunder Celestial Realm with your own power and go to the Thunder Celestial Temple within a year with my token, then I'll give you another fortune. I'll let you come with me to the Alliance star system." As he spoke, he slapped his bag of holding, and a 3-inch-long golden-purple horn flew out toward Wang Lin. Master Flamespark turned around and stepped into the vortex. Shimizu entered at the same time. Before he entered, he looked back at Wang Lin with a strange light in his eyes. After sending out a message, he disappeared into the vortex. In almost an instant, the vortex dissipated. Wang Lin was the only one left in the void. "I can feel a familiar aura from your body. Since you have learned Call the Wind, you can be considered my teacher's descendant. Comprehend it well. That is one of my teacher's 6 great spells. Don't let it go to dust in your hands." After catching the golden-purple horn, Wang Lin silently pondered as Shimizu's message echoed in his ears. After a long time, Wang Lin looked at the golden-purple horn and put it away. Then he flew off into the distance. At this moment, 49 fragments were missing from the Thunder Celestial Realm. Although the vortex was gone, the collapse didn't stop. Instead, it became even more intense. The howls of the fragments were like the wails of ghosts and the howls of wolves, and they echoed across the Thunder Celestial Realm. It was enough to shake one's mind and make one feel a chill from the bottom of their heart. As Wang Lin flew, he couldn't merge with the world at all. He could only carefully avoid the spatial rifts as he flew aimlessly through the Thunder Celestial Realm. The gate to the Celestial Realm is closed, so how am I supposed to leave? Also, that Shimizu Celestial Lord could have noticed that I once had the G Realm. Wang Lin's figure flashed, and he avoided a spatial rift. It was as if thunder had flashed across his mind, and his eyes lit up. He remembered what Shengonghu had said when he introduced the Thunder Celestial Realm. Right now, I have to find Shengonghu. Wang Lin closed his eyes and sensed Shengonghu's Tao soul. A moment later, his body flickered and he changed directions. Shengonghu was rapidly flying through the void. Although the gate to the Thunder Celestial Realm was destroyed, he knew another place to leave. That was the only transfer array the Thunder Celestial Temple had set up in the Thunder Celestial Realm. It was through this transfer array that the messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple didn't need to go through the Celestial Realm Gate to enter. However, although the transfer array that belonged to the Thunder Celestial Temple could allow people to leave the Thunder Celestial Realm, there were great restrictions. Not only could only teleport a few people at a time, but aside from messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple, no one else could enter. Anyone who entered would be killed without mercy. This rule was strictly enforced after the Thunder Celestial Temple's transfer array was placed in the Thunder Celestial Realm. Even if someone accidentally entered, they would be immediately killed. The might of the Thunder Celestial Temple couldn't be violated. In addition, there was a crack in his relationship with the Thunder Celestial Temple, so he didn't choose this transfer array and went to the gate to the Celestial Realm. However, with the gate to the Celestial Realm closed and the collapse of the Thunder Celestial Realm, Shingongu had to go to the Thunder Celestial Temple. I wonder where the High Lord is right now. Shingongu silently pondered. He still believed that his High Lord wouldn't lose. 3 chapters of 8,300 words. I can't write anymore, but everyone can rest assured. Tomorrow, I'll continue with 3 chapters of at least 8,000 words. Chapter 797. Zhang Konglai was also flying through the void. As a new messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple, he naturally knew where the transfer array was. At this moment, he quickly flew toward it. When he was traveling with Shingongu, he had the intention of going to this transfer array. However, considering Shingongu, he didn't mention it and went to the Celestial Realm Gate with Shingongu. The battle outside the Celestial Realm Gate made Zhang Konglai excited. Although the Thunder Celestial Realm was unstable, his heart was as firm as ever. Like Shingongu, he firmly believed that Wang Lin wouldn't lose. I wonder where Shingongu is right now. He must be on the way to the Thunder Celestial Temple's transfer array like me. Zhang Konglia's body flickered, and he dodged a crack that suddenly appeared in the void. In truth, when Zhang Konglai went to the Celestial Realm Gate, he immediately found that although there were a lot of cultivators there, aside from him and Shingongu, there were no other messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple. He knew that all the messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple had probably gone to the transfer array. Zhang Konglai and Shingongu, who were in 2 different locations in the void, heading toward the transfer array of the Thunder Celestial Temple. At the same time, Wang Lin's figure moved like a ray of light as he followed Shingongu's Dao soul to get closer. However, the collapse of the Thunder Celestial Realm became even more intense, and more cracks appeared in the sky. If one was a bit careless, they would be devoured. As a result, they couldn't move too fast and had to constantly pay attention to the changes in the void around them. As they flew, aside from the whistling sounds, there would occasionally be muffled bangs echoing. This sound was even more obvious when Wang Lin passed by the collapsing fragments. Along the way, he had seen 2 fragments of the continents completely collapse and turn into large pieces of gravel. It was as if they were swept up by a storm. Some of them were torn into pieces in the void, while the rest scattered in all directions with a strong impact. A few of them directly flew toward the passing Wang Lin. The powerful shock waves they created were no weaker than the full power attack of an ascendant cultivator. Even if this level of attack wasn't fatal to cultivators who hadn't reached the second step, if they were unlucky and a spatial crack appeared around them while they were dodging or resisting, it would be a life and death crisis. For Wang Lin, he didn't have to worry about this. Whether it was the stop spell or other spells, he could easily dodge them. As he flew, Wang Lin's expression was calm. His figure flickered as he dodged one crack after another. However, as they went deeper and deeper, more and more cracks appeared in the void. In the end, they were almost densely packed together, like a piece of black paper that had been torn open and could be torn into pieces at any time. Wang Lin frowned. He could vaguely feel that there was some distance between him and Shingongu. With his current speed, he would not be able to catch up in a short period of time. After a moment of thought, Wang Lin's eyes glittered. His right hand flashed with an incantation gesture, and he pressed it to his forehead. He spat out a grain of sand, which instantly expanded to 300 meters in diameter. This thing is still being refined by the divine retribution. Even the Qing Feng Celestial Lord's attack couldn't destroy it, so I believe these cracks won't be able to destroy it either. Wang Lin's right hand pointed forward, and the fragment immediately flew out. He carefully looked at it. As the fragment charged forward, it smashed into the many cracks before it. In an instant, the tearing force from the cracks spread to the fragment. However, this tearing force didn't cause the fragment to change at all, and it continued to charge forward. At the same time, the cracks seemed to be flattened by half, and actually showed signs of closing temporarily. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, and he immediately stepped onto the fragment. He sat down in the lotus position, and his hands formed a seal. His origin energy surged into the fragment, causing it to shine brightly. Its speed doubled, and it charged forward in a straight line. As a result, its speed was much faster than before. Wang Lin only needed to pay attention to the cracks that were more than 1,000 feet long and didn't need to pay attention to the rest. The fragment was extremely fast in the Thunder Celestial Realm. Half an hour later, Wang Lin relaxed and looked ahead. However, just at this moment, his expression changed. In the distance, a dim ray of light flew by. There was a woman inside the ray of light. She was very beautiful, but her face was pale and her eyes were filled with panic. As she flew, she constantly dodged the cracks in space and was almost swallowed by them several times. The fragment Wang Lin was on was extremely conspicuous in the void. The woman immediately saw it and was pleasantly surprised. Just as she was about to fly over, a 100-foot wide spatial crack silently appeared before her. It was like the mouth of an evil spirit had opened. The cold wind howled, and the woman's face immediately turned ashen. She wanted to dodge, but it was too late. Her eyes were filled with despair. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he withdrew his gaze. With his personality, he naturally wouldn't save someone for no reason. The fragment flashed and didn't stop. It flew forward. The woman struggled in despair, wanting to rush out of the spatial crack. She anxiously said, "Senior, save me." Zhang Konglai is Junior's brother. Wang Lin frowned. He had seen this woman before. When Zhang Konglai and more than a dozen people flew by, this woman was one of them. However, at that time, this woman's cultivation had clearly just reached the illusory stage. But now her cultivation level had fallen, and the origin energy in her body had almost been cut off. It looked like she could only display the power of an ascendant cultivator. The 1,000 feet fragment below him suddenly turned around and charged at the woman. It closed in on her in almost an instant and slammed into the 100-foot crack. The moment it slammed into the crack, the woman leaped out and landed on the fragment. Her face was pale, and she was still in a state of shock. She looked at Wang Lin with gratitude and softly said, "Thank you, Senior, for saving my life." Wang Lin frowned as he looked at the woman and calmly asked, "Do you have celestial jades?" The woman was startled and quickly nodded. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he slowly said, 10,000 celestial jades for saving you. Add another 10,000 and you can stay here for 1 hour, and so on. The fragment below him quickly flew off into the distance. The woman silently pondered, and there was an almost undetectable flash of contempt in her eyes. She didn't expect the senior her big brother Jean was talking about to be someone like this. If she hadn't personally seen his battle with the white-haired man, she wouldn't have believed that the person asking for celestial jades was a senior expert. Without a word, she took out a bag of holding and threw it at Wang Lin. "There are 50,000 celestial jades inside. Senior, please count them." Wang Lin caught it and wiped away his divine sense. After scanning it, he found that the number was roughly correct and put it away. He no longer paid attention to the woman and closed his eyes to cultivate. The woman didn't expect Wang Lin to really count the number and felt even more contempt in her heart. She let out a sigh and sat down far away from Wang Lin. She stared at the void before her, and her eyes were filled with confusion. "Big brother Jean, where are you?" There was one more person on the 1,000-foot fragment, but it didn't affect the fragment's speed. It charged forward at full speed. The woman had recovered from her confusion. She looked at the spatial rifts created by the collision of the fragment and sucked in a breath of cold air. What kind of treasure is this? It's too terrifying. The woman had personally seen all the spatial rifts close up under the impact of the fragment. No matter how strong the tearing force was, it didn't affect the fragment at all. Just at this moment, her eyes narrowed. There were 3 rays of light to her right. There were 2 men and 1 woman. All 3 of them had gloomy expressions and anxiety in their eyes. She's Zifeng. The woman on the fragment immediately stood up. The 3 people in the distance immediately noticed this, and their eyes were filled with joy. The 3 of them didn't hesitate to rush over, avoiding the spatial rifts as they charged toward the fragment. Wang Lin's expression was the same as always. He didn't slow down at all and continued to rush forward. The 3 of them clearly couldn't keep up. Zhang Yun, wait a minute. The female cultivator named Shi Zifeng anxiously shouted. The woman named Zhang quickly said to Wang Lin, Senior, please stop. Junior's friend wants to come up. Wang Lin opened his eyes. They were filled with impatience, and he ignored her. The woman surnamed Zhang stomped her foot and slapped her bag of holding. A red thread immediately flew out. With a shake of her hand, the red thread instantly lengthened and shot toward the 3 people chasing after the fragment. The woman named Shi Zifeng immediately grabbed at the air. Her body flickered, and she immediately flew out. The 2 men behind her also grabbed at the air. The 3 of them flew out at the same time and finally caught up to the fragment and landed on it. The 3 of them relaxed and immediately noticed Wang Lin sitting in the distance. One of the men beside Shi Zifeng looked at Zhang Yun and asked, Who is this fellow cultivator? Without waiting for Zhang Yun to speak, Shi Zifeng looked at Wang Lin. After taking a closer look, her expression immediately changed. She quickly abandoned everyone else and stepped forward. She respectfully bowed and said, Junior, Shi Zifeng greets Senior. Thank you, Senior, for saving my life twice. After she finished speaking, her face turned red. Wang Lin looked at the woman. This woman was even more beautiful than Zhang Yun. He vaguely remembered that this woman was one of the people that Master Flame's Park had taken control of and kicked into the void outside the celestial realm. Frowning, Wang Lin felt like this was very troublesome. If he knew this was going to happen, he wouldn't have saved Zhang Yun. He let out a sigh and asked, Do the 3 of you have celestial jades? Shi Zifeng was startled. Before she could answer, Zhang Yun quickly said, 10,000 celestial jades is enough to save a life. Adding 10,000 celestial jades will allow you to stay here for 1 hour. Shi Zifeng nodded. That's how it should be. She and the 2 people beside her immediately took out celestial jades, put them into a bag of holding, and respectfully handed them over to Wang Lin. Wang Lin took them and closed his eyes, ignoring them. Along with Zhang Yun, the 4 of them sat together and looked at the void outside the fragment. They all felt like they had just survived a calamity and began to talk. The speed of the fragment was very fast. As they went deeper into the Thunder Celestial Realm, Wang Lin's frown didn't relax. Along the way, he met a lot of scattered cultivators or cultivators that were gathered together. When these people saw the 1,000-foot fragment, it was as if they had grasped onto a life-saving straw. They all tried their best to get up here, and some of them were acquaintances of the 4 people on the fragment. As a result, more and more cultivators appeared on the fragment. There was one thing that Wang Lin didn't need to worry about. Every time someone new came, Zhang Yun would step forward and state her requirements for celestial jades. At this moment, there were several bags of holding in Wang Lin's arms, and each of them contained a large amount of celestial jades. There were also nearly 20 cultivators on the 1,000-foot fragment. These people didn't sit together. Aside from the acquaintances, everyone else was sitting by themselves. They all looked at the void outside with complicated feelings in their hearts. Some of them immediately recognized Wang Lin and completely relaxed. In their minds, as long as Wang Lin was here, everything would be safe. As the 1,000-foot fragment rapidly flew through the void, more and more people appeared on it. In the end, there were more than 50 people on it. Looking at the many cultivators behind him, Wang Lin frowned. His gaze swept past them and landed on the void behind the fragment. There were still dozens of rays of light following them, unwilling to give up. The cultivators inside the rays of light couldn't keep up, and none of them knew the cultivators on the fragment. Without anyone's help, they couldn't catch up to the fragment by themselves. However, they were safe following the path the fragment took. After all, after the fragment passed by, the rifts showed signs of closing. Compared to the outside world, this path was much easier to follow. Gradually, more and more cultivators gathered, forming a long line behind the fragment. Rays of sword light flickered like countless tails, following closely behind. From their point of view, doing this was the only way to survive. There were naturally people with high cultivation levels. These people didn't need help from others. As long as they weren't too far away, they could use their own strength to fly to the fragment. However, no matter what their cultivation level was, after hesitating for a bit, they would obediently hand over their celestial jades in exchange for a spot on the fragment. Wang Lin's fame from the battle outside the celestial realm played a big role. Even corporeal young cultivators had to respectfully call Wang Lin Sr. when they saw him. Touching the bag of celestial jades in his chest, Wang Lin let out a sigh and no longer paid attention to these people. He could feel that Shengong who wasn't far away. It was at this point that a huge boulder suddenly appeared in front of them. It was 3,000 meters long, and as it flew through the air, its edges constantly crumbled. Every time it collided with a fissure, it would shake, and huge chunks of rubble would fall off. There were 3 people standing at the edge of the fragment. Each one of them was at the corporeal yang stage, and behind them were nearly 100 cultivators. They all revealed greedy gazes as they stared at the fragment Wang Lin was on. Leave behind this celestial realm fragment. The golden-robed man's gloomy voice echoed. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he looked at the 3 of them. Then his gaze fell on the fragment under their feet. It was clear that these people had also thought of using this fragment as a means of transportation. However, the fragment they obtained hadn't been refined by the divine retribution, so it wasn't stable enough. It would continue to collapse along the way, and it was unknown how many times it had been replaced. The golden-robed man took a step forward and entered the void. He avoided the rifts and charged toward the fragment Wang Lin was on. Behind him, another white-robed old man among the 3 also took a step forward. Only the blue-robed scholar was left. He stood on the fragment and coldly stared at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm, without any fluctuations. He raised his right hand and pointed forward. The beast bone tattoo on the back of his hand turned into a ray of light and flew out. It formed the shape of the beast bone in the void. The 4 ferocious thorns gave off a cold glow. There was a flash of ghostly light in the beast bone's eyes, and a dense killing intent suddenly spread out. Almost in an instant, the golden-robed man who was the first to arrive didn't even have time to cast any spells before his body trembled. A gray light spread out from his legs and spread to his entire body. His eyes were filled with terror, and he sucked in a breath of cold air. Without any hesitation, he raised his right hand and hit the top of his head. The moment his physical body was devoured by the gray light, his origin soul flew out. Wang Lin sneered and slapped his bag of holding. The 1 billion soul flag shook and turned into a black fog that charged toward his origin soul. At this moment, the white-robed old man closed in. He ignored his companion and shouted, "Celestial spell, lightning strike." Lightning gathered before him like crazy. In a flash, it turned into a lightning blade that seemed like it was going to cut open the world and shot toward Wang Lin. Suddenly, a sharp whistling sound could be heard. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. Before the lightning blade even got close, he could feel its sharp aura. As the lightning blade closed in, Wang Lin's brow lit up. His origin soul flew out and swallowed the lightning blade. When his origin soul returned to his body, Wang Lin's face was slightly red. He stood up and coldly looked at the startled old man. With one step, he charged out. The expression of the old man in white changed drastically, and he retreated without any hesitation. As he retreated, the blue-robed scholar, standing on the shattered stone in the distance, frowned, and with a single movement, he leaped out. A flash of coldness appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. He wasn't a person who would easily provoke others, but if someone attacked him first, he wouldn't hold back. At this moment, he pointed at the old man in white with his right hand and used the celestial spell Stop. The old man in white immediately felt as if his body had sunk into water, as if several mountains had been tied to him. He immediately stopped, and it wasn't just his body. Even his origin soul and origin energy stopped circulating at this instant. Wang Lin took a step forward and formed a sword with 2 fingers on his right hand. As he passed by the white-robed old man, he pointed at the spot between his eyebrows. The old man coughed out a large amount of blood mist and immediately collapsed. His origin soul was filled with terror and wanted to escape, but there was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. His right hand reached out and grabbed the old man's origin soul. "Fellow cultivator, stop!" A roar came from the blue-robed cultivator. He moved like lightning and charged at Wang Lin. His right hand formed a seal, and an illusory sword flew out from the top of his head. In a flash, it moved as if it had teleported and appeared before Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was cold as he crushed the origin soul in his hand. When he turned around, his third eye opened angrily. A red light shined and spread out in the shape of a fan. It immediately surrounded the illusory sword that had teleported toward him. Under the red light, a large amount of black gas came out from the illusory sword, and it collapsed in an instant. The blue-robed scholar immediately stopped 100 feet away from Wang Lin. His expression was gloomy as he stared at Wang Lin and said, "Your spells are shocking. This matter is over, please." He suppressed the killing intent in his eyes and slowly retreated. Wang Lin looked coldly at the scholar and put away the 1 billion soul flag. He returned to the 1,000 feet fragment. At this moment, all the cultivators on the fragment had gotten up and looked over. After entering the 1,000-foot fragment, Wang Lin sat down in the lotus position and the fragment charged out. Wang Lin swallowed the origin soul in his hand and pointed at the sky with his right hand. He slowly said, "Call the wind." A gust of black wind suddenly appeared and turned into a black dragon that charged at the blue-robed scholar. His expression changed greatly, and he quickly retreated. However, just at this moment, the black dragon opened its mouth and spat out a gust of cold wind. The wind howled and filled the world. The retreating blue-robed scholar trembled, and his eyes became dim. He looked like he was struggling, but just as he wanted to resist, he didn't notice that a 30-foot-long spatial crack had appeared in the void behind him. As he retreated, he stepped into the crack. With a roar of despair, his body immediately disappeared without a trace. Only the lingering sound of his roar still reverberated. The 1,000-feet fragment flew into the distance with a large amount of cultivators following it. At this moment, whether it was them or the cultivators on the fragment, they all looked at Wang Lin's back with awe in their eyes. Some of the cultivators who had seen Wang Lin's battle with the white-haired man outside the celestial realm weren't surprised by Wang Lin killing 3 corporeal yang cultivators. In fact, they thought it was normal. However, the cultivators who hadn't seen it before were all shocked. In particular, those who had hesitated to pay the celestial jades secretly rejoiced. Some of the cultivators who wanted to steal the fragment from Wang Lin were covered in cold sweat and were filled with lingering fear. After this, the 1,000-feet fragment was completely silent. No one talked, and an invisible pressure gradually shrouded the area. This pressure came from the fear and awe of Wang Lin in their hearts. The 1,000-feet fragment moved faster and faster. Several hours later, Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, and he looked ahead. There was a ray of sword energy flying through the void. The person inside the sword energy was Shun Gonghu. As Shun Gonghu flew, he suddenly turned around and stared at the 1,000-feet fragment. He immediately saw Wang Lin, and his eyes were filled with excitement. His body flickered, and he charged toward Wang Lin. Shingonghu landed several feet away from Wang Lin and respectfully said, "Shingonghu greets the High Lord." His gaze toward Wang Lin was filled with reverence and fanaticism. Wang Lin revealed a smile as he nodded and said, "Sit down and take me to the Thunder Celestial Temple's transfer array." Gong, who didn't even look at the other people on the fragment. He immediately sat down and respectfully said, "High Lord, this place is not far from the transfer array." With that, he pointed out the direction. The people on the fragment were shocked at the scene before them. Some of them knew Gong who, and when they heard Gong who call Wang Lin High Lord, they all began to ponder. Shi Zifeng's beautiful eyes looked at Wang Lin's back. She seemed to remember something, and her face turned slightly red. However, her gaze never moved away. The collapse of the Thunder Celestial Realm reached its peak as the 1,000 feet fragment moved. Large amounts of spatial cracks appeared in the void, and endless cold wind blew out. The sound of the continent collapsing continued to echo. The deeper they went into the Thunder Celestial Realm, the more intense this phenomenon became. In the end, the entire void was filled with spatial cracks. These cracks continued to extend and connect, forming rifts that were more than 1,000 feet wide. Wang Lin's expression was serious as he controlled the 1,000 feet fragment to move forward. Just at this moment, his eyes suddenly opened and the fragment below him suddenly stopped. Then it turned around and went around in an arc. The moment it went around the fragment, a giant rift nearly 2,000 feet wide appeared out of nowhere. Some of the cultivators following the fragment weren't able to dodge in time and were devoured by the rift while screaming for help. Wang Lin was completely focused and didn't have time to think about others. He focused on controlling the fragment and avoiding the giant rifts. However, his expression became more and more gloomy. Wang Lin asked, "How much farther?" "Less than 5 kilometers. Gong, who was also extremely nervous. The rifts before him made his scalp go numb. Wang Lin frowned slightly. The 1,000 feet fragment moved and avoided a few more rifts as it charged forward. It gradually got closer and closer. Wang Lin could see that there was a 10,000 feet wide light screen several kilometers away. Inside this light screen was a motionless fragment. There was a formation on it, and there were several people inside it. It was obvious they were about to be transferred away. One of them was Zhang Konglai. There were 7 or 8 messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple outside the formation, and they seemed to be talking to each other. At this moment, these people seemed to notice something and suddenly turn around. They coldly looked at Wang Lin's direction. One of them raised his right hand and pointed at the sky. A wave of origin energy spread out from his palm and entered the surrounding light screen. His origin energy gathered outside the light screen and immediately turned into a large hand. As it swept out, all the cracks within 10,000 feet of the light screen shattered. The cracks rapidly spread out from both ends like a moat that could not be crossed, and they were about to connect completely. Once it was connected, no one would be able to pass through the 1,000-foot circular crack that surrounded the light barrier. Scram! At the same time, a cold divine sense echoed across the world, revealing a ruthless indifference. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes, and all the origin energy in his body surged into the fragment. He took a deep breath, and his eyes shined brightly. The speed of the fragment suddenly increased as if it had fused with the world. In the blink of an eye, the 300-meter-long fragment shot forward madly, smashing through any of the rifts in its path. The cultivators behind the fragment gritted their teeth and charged forward without a care for anything else. At this moment, there was a chance of survival before them. If they entered, they could live. If they couldn't enter, they would die. The speed of the fragment was so fast that it almost turned into afterimages. As it charged forward, it let out loud, rumbling sounds. It was like a 1,000 feet meteor, and the moment the cracks connected with each other, it charged into the light barrier. Wang Lin stood up and slapped his bag holding. The celestial sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed down. This slash wasn't just one slash. In an instant, Wang Lin slashed down 9 times. The 9 heavenly slashes fused into one to form an unimaginable sword that could destroy laws. It gave off a dark glow as it landed on the rift in front of the fragment. Boom! Even though the fissures were connected, under the power of the heavenly chop incantation, they still paused. The edges of the fissures were immediately torn open, and the fissures spread like crazy. In the blink of an eye, a gap was opened up in the originally connected fissures. The power of the heavenly slash was still present. After cutting the rift, it directly entered and landed on the light screen. A large amount of ripples immediately appeared and spread along the light screen. At this moment, everything inside became distorted. At the same time, the 1,000-foot fragment directly rushed forward with the momentum of a true meteor. It followed closely behind the heavenly chop technique and crashed into the light barrier. An earth-shattering sound that caused the surrounding small rifts to collapse echoed. This sound was so shocking that even the messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple looked over. This was especially true for Zhang Konglai. When he saw Wang Lin, his face was filled with excitement. After the loud bang, crackling sounds echoed. Large amounts of cracks appeared on the light screen and continued to spread. At the same time, the cultivators that were chasing the fragment all flew in through the gap. Wang Lin's eyes became cold, and he controlled the fragment to retreat several dozen feet. Under the gazes of the cultivators on the fragment, it accelerated and smashed into the light screen once more. More and more cracks appeared on the light screen, almost forming a large patch. The luster on the light screen also dimmed in an instant. All of this happened too fast. It only took a few breaths of time. At this moment, one of the messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple had a gloomy expression. Thunder surrounded his body as he charged out from the light. You have guts to dare to break into the forbidden area of the Thunder Celestial Temple. The moment the person covered in thunder walked out, before Wang Lin could attack, several people on the fragment flew out and began to fight him. One of the people fighting the messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple shouted, "Senior, don't worry about this person. We can deal with him." Wang Lin nodded slightly, and the fragment retreated once more. This time, he prepared for 10 breaths of time. Not only him, but the other cultivators on the fragment and all the surrounding cultivators all flew out and placed their hands on the edge of the fragment. Everyone used their most powerful spells and fused them together. Under the guidance of Wang Lin's origin energy, there was a sharp whistling sound as they charged out. The power of countless people gathered to form a sharp point at the front of the fragment. As the rumbling sound echoed out, the entire 1,000-foot-long fragment slammed into the light barrier. With a bang, the light barrier finally collapsed. Countless shards of light were sent tumbling back in the storm. The 1,000-foot shard directly pierced through, and more than half of it went in. The surrounding cultivators immediately rushed in, and for a time, the 10,000-foot large fragment of the teleportation array was filled with cultivators crazily fighting for their lives. 8,200 words erupted. This has been the second consecutive day where 8,000 words erupted. Fellow cultivators, lend me a hand and charge. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.